dive right into it. So, we're going to pick up from the capital, basically exactly where we left off, last time. So just after your meeting with the proconsul.
Okay. And
All
we
right.
just got
Yeah.
dismissed.
Yeah, you just got dismissed. So your feet carry you forward into the courtyard of the Department of Faith. You breathe in deeply. It is a familiar smell of humanity. Others in the countryside smell the worst in the city, the stench of human waste, the press of bodies, and 1,000 other ignoble scents, but you smell past all of it. Nauseous was far worse, and even your noble abbey in Rendinium wasn't too fair. But beneath the layers of grime, there is a glory to this city, the greatest city in the world. There is a question, though, of where to. You were told by the proconsul that soon Tullius would find you to introduce you to your new estate, but you were given little other instruction. So the simple question is, what does Zednius do in this rare moment of free time?
Oh, it doesn't seem like I've got a whole lot of time. I'm not sure how much time I would be expecting to have.
It's a fair question. We weren't given much of a timetable.
What city are we in? The capital?
Yep, the capital of Mythos. The greatest and largest city in the world.
There was something here regarding religion I wanted to look at, I think.
There are the largest temples in the Empire.
Largest temples. Let me check
the biggest libraries. Yeah, feel free to check your notes. There's coffee houses, bars, restaurants, gambling houses, churches. Those are just the legal things.
I think I have the Summa Theologica. That's like the main. That's like the Bible, right?
It's like it's the main religious text of the Empire.
Okay. I don't think there was anything else.
The Captiosan Library is here, which contains basically all religious text. Actually, it's here. It's in the Department of Faith, so it contains almost all texts, even some of the heretical ones that haven't yet been burned. So, if there's any burning questions that Aeneas wants to answer, you're in the Department of Faith right now, the Great Department of Faith. You're in its complex. There is a chapel here, which is essentially just a giant religious library. Most people actually can't get access to it, but you're a judge, which makes you one of the highest ranking officials in the Department of Faith.
Right. Let me double check what I'm looking for. Pax Mithdosica. Khalil's journal. Does it have any mention of religion in here?
Religion. He never says the words Aurelian soul, if that's what you mean.
No, but he says stuff like Plutarchus.
Oh, yeah. Things he references. So he references someone called Calrul a lot. He references three other necromancers by name. He references Palinol Elfsbane. But it's only in the context. Actually, I'll just read you the portion where he mentions Palinol, because that's one of the saints of the Empire. Kalarn Randarin is mentioned in the legend of Palinol Elfsbane as one of the many regional elven warlords he killed. The legend speaks of Palinol defeathering Kalarn, whatever that means. And that's the only, mention of major saints or religions.
Okay. And Elfsbane is a saint? Or
Palinol Elfsbane is one of the three heralds of the Empire. Essentially, they're above saints, but they are called saints. There's Saint Palinol Elfsbane. He's basically one step below God itself. He is seen as essentially an archangel.
I think I'd want to. Is he featured in any major books or his story?
Yeah, but no old stuff from back in the day. All of this is modern, post Captiosus, which was about 300 years ago. But there's tons of modern reinterpretations and versions of the story about him.
Okay. If it's a religious book, I'd like to grab that. Or is it a historical book? Or is it kind of the same thing here?
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
They, of course, view it as true history, but it's mostly made up of religious parables.
Right.
Yeah, you can easily do that. You can travel to the chapel. And after a quick showing of your judge's badge, the Cairo, they will allow you within. The chapel is a colossal one. It contains stacks upon stacks of bookshelves, clerks attending to everything. Everyone who works here is a member of the monastic order, the scribes of Cappadocia, who are people essentially who say they will take no lands, no wives, have no children, and they will dedicate their life to the pursuit of knowledge. And it's the same order that several hundred years ago wrote the first Summa Theologica. And they will, one of the clerks on duty will guide you through the chapel to a whole shelf of about 150 books dedicated to Pelennor Elfsbane.
Oh, goodness. I probably want... This is one of the many regional elven warlords he killed. The legend speaks of him defeathering Kalarn. What? Is that like a significant battle that happened? Is that something known?
Do you want to ask the clerk?
Yeah, I'm going to ask about Kalarn.
Sure, what do you say?
Excuse me.
Yes.
There's quite a lot of books here, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm looking for. What were some of the major battles that Pelennor Elfsbane was in?
Well, there are quite a fair number that could be considered significant, but I believe the greatest of his feats would probably be the battle at Saint Praetor. No, Saint Ramon. That's probably a greater one.
And he was fighting many elven warlords in these?
Oh my. Lord Judge, you should get caught up on your history. Yes, the Star-Made Knight defeated all elven warlords in the world. He was named Pelennor the Bloody for what he delivered upon women and children alike.
I'll pick up... Did he point to a specific book?
No.
Oh.
You're just saying in general.
Well, could you point me towards some of the counts of those battles?
Yes, if you're looking for more of a military view of his life, he heads over to the shelf and picks up what is actually a relatively thin book, all things considered. It looks like it's maybe only 40 pages long compared to the rest of the, tomes on the shelf. It says, this is a nice, digestible text. It was written by a consul of the Republic.
I'll grab it and start skimming through, looking for the words Kalarn.
He gave you a book for children. You don't actually realize it at first, but you flip through the pages and there are like sketches, like illustrations of the different battles and stuff. Maybe not for kids, but certainly for teenagers. I assume. And it shows the different major battles. And the battles listed are the Battle of Saint Praetor, which means Holy Land, the Battle of Saint Ramon, which means Holy Wood. Then there are the battles of let me find it. The Stone Pillar, the Flaming Gorge, and the Rending Wheel.
Was there a Battle of Samnia? Is that what he said?
There's no listed Battle of Samnia, no.
Okay. Do you have anything more in depth?
Yeah, there is and he goes to the shelf and withdraws one of the large tomes. This is a historical retrospective. It analyzes a large number of sources and attempts to prove which of the legendary battles in Pelennor actually happened.
Okay.
It'll take some time to read, though. The prose of Diogenes is not exactly easy.
Okay.
But he'll hand you over the large text and recover the small little 40-page novelette and place it back on the shelf. Of course, you can't take that beyond the grounds of the temple. Some text within has been deemed heretical by the Varusian Creed.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. I'll look for a place to sit to go take in.
Many alcoves and benches and booths and everything that you could think of. And you can quickly find a small, cushy little booth to sit down in and open up this large tome. You begin to read. Roll me a flat intelligence check. This is written in a very weird version of Mythos. Not that's totally illegible, but one that takes some doing. Okay. Yeah, you begin to read through this. It's written in a sort of like scholarly dialect. It is not like what do you call those, philosophy texts from like the real life 1900s. It's just really dense and hard to read, and you have to reread sentences sometimes. But as you begin to churn through this book, you learn that the author, Diogenes, takes a very pessimistic view about Pellinol actually existing. He posits, even before you've gotten to the first battle, that Pellinol isn't a single person at all, but is instead a bunch of different human warriors that were all sort of combined into the same archetype. But
would that be considered
that
heresy?
is instantly heresy. Okay. Yeah, instantly. That's like the greatest of heresies, because saying one of the heralds isn't real. And then you begin to turn through the battles, and you basically just skim the first page of each of these, because you'll know pretty quickly, because he mentioned the warlords that Pellinol was fighting in each of these battles.
Okay.
Yeah, you get through the first one. One, it probably didn't happen in the Battle of Sancretor, and two, it definitely did not involve anyone named Kalarn Randarin. And then as you get to the back of the book, you've gone through like 6 or 7 of these battles, and then you get to the final one that was not listed in that tiny little 40-page packet. It's listed as the Battle of the Spotted Wood. And there, you read that in a year that is unknown, but near the end of Pellinol's life, when he was called the Star-Made Knight, he battled against 6 elven warlords, one of the last of their kind. They lived in an elven wood, sheltered from the flames that had consumed the rest of their kin, and so Pellinol delivered death onto them. He struck down the first and tore off his arms, the next his legs, the next his head, the next his ribs, the last his heart, and then the young one, the one who was not yet a full man, did not understand what was happening. He was defeathered, his wings were torn from his body was broken across the earth. There's no mention of names of these 6 nameless warlords. In fact, as you read a little bit more, this seems to essentially have been a mopping up operation. As far as Pellinol was concerned, the elven power across the world was broken, and this was for him just entertainment.
And it says the one that was defeathered was the youngest?
Yeah, not a full man.
But when did elves become full men? How old?
There's not been a full elf in the world for millennia, so you're not
There's
sure.
No common knowledge on it? Okay. No. I know that they lived a long time because of
immortal.
Other
they were
elves.
literally immortal.
Yeah. Okay.
Once they reached adulthood, they would never age past, like, their vibrant youth.
There's indication. Well, now I'm wondering if how the timeline lines up.
Yeah. So some general historical knowledge would be that the oldest recorded thing is the Elven Empire. It existed for literally no one knows how long. And Pellinol existed during the Elven Empire. It wasn't his actions that led to the Elven Empire destroying itself. It was their own magics and folly. So Pellinol stopped his grand crusade against the elves when they were still fully in power and they still existed. Ultimately, he was actually killed in a battle against the elves. But this was near the end of his campaigns when he basically thought he was immortal, which obviously was proved wrong when he got ripped apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do I know? What can I find about the city of Samnia?
That should be easy enough.
Okay.
Yeah, the city of Samnia is actually very easy to find. You can go to a scholar and ask him about, historical treatises on old cities to the south. And what you find is that the man will explain this to you as he brings you to a shelf, that the southern frontier has changed by hundreds of miles at any given time in the history of human beings living on the Regenan Peninsula. Back in, the days before the world shattered, the entire thing that is now the Regenan Peninsula would have once been woodland, but it was slowly cut back. However, there were times when the woods surged forward, and as he brings you to a shelf which contains several what seem to be little pocket guides to different cities in the south, and he hands you one on Samnia, he says, "And around 150 years ago, when an order named the Necromortis was formed, and a band of corrupted druids was formed alongside them, the woods surged forward almost 120 miles. Ravinium was the only of the southern cities that was spared the advance of the woods. Great cities such as Samnia, Batavia, and many others were consumed by the forest. The Republic had little recourse when it happened. It led to the first great war against the Deadwood. It was a gruesome time for our people."
Oh, it's near the Deadwood.
It's within the Deadwood.
It's within the Deadwood. Was it ever cleared and lived in?
Yes. The city, and he sort of consults a map. The city is... It's far to the north. It's a somewhat isolated pocket of the Deadwood, along the Sedan River, and we'll move to the world map.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we...
Yeah. So this is what is considered like the Deadwood proper. I mean, you know all about it, the southern part.
Yeah.
However, he will point out this city, right here, at the bend of the Sedan River. Once it was Deadwood, and the city within was considered cursed, so that little pocket has been allowed to fester. There are stories of revenants and old magics, dangerous things.
Was the Deadwood returning there?
I'm not sure if I understand.
Is there any dense forest retaking
yes. When the Deadwood was pushed back by the Republic, Transatlia was liberated, Regionova was liberated, but Samnia was deemed as far too dangerous. It would take, a decade of war crews to clear it, but many would die. Even to this day, the Empire, under Aurelian Varusian Sol, he contemplated recovering the city, but again, it was deemed as exceedingly dangerous and not worth the cost in human life. It is a pocket of the Deadwood within the heart of the Empire.
Well, thank you for your assistance.
Of course, and he'll hand you over the pamphlet.
What was the pamphlet of?
The pamphlet is it's a pocket guide to it's a very, very old pocket guide to the Republic, and it includes, there was an edition made for each of the major cities, and this one is on Samnia. So this would have been like a tourist guide 160 years ago.
Okay. But the notes say it was just near the city of Samnia.
Yeah.
But long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it says he had a kingdom, so I'm wondering how someone not fully grown would have a kingdom, or if perhaps that wasn't his end when he got defeathered.
Yeah. Elves were known to be very tenacious. They ruled the world for a reason.
Well, that seems like a very interesting place to go.
A cursed city like Batavia? Yeah.
But not a real link of why to go there at this point, I don't think. I'd have to look over the notes right now, which...
That's all right. The only other thing of note from that, since you're looking at that, thing anyways, he mentions that... Khalil mentions he believes he secured the location of one of the armaments. The Staff of Kaurul, which he used to raise vassalage of the dead, was stolen. Yeah, and that's in Sedalia, which is the same province as Samnia.
It's as what?
It's the same province as Samnia. This whole area is considered Sedalia.
Oh, so we don't know exactly where... That means the staff is some noble house in Sedalia. Well, where would the noble houses be? Here?
Everywhere.
Most likely
just countrysides. Here. Every village has a quaestor.
Okay.
Yeah. And those are just the biggest cities. Every province has 3 or 4 other cities.
Well, that seems like something that we definitely would need to find. If we want to stop the
if some random noble house is sitting on a world-powering artifact and not knowing about it, it's a pretty big deal. Well, speaking of the shields of Calvenza, where would I find about Calrul? Calrul? There are tons of historical texts on it, because this was a cataclysmic war. The Galentine War is like the recent version of this, when you guys fight the Deadwood, but this has been a tradition that the Empire's carried on for a long time. And the biggest war ever was the one against Calrul. He was the one that nearly crippled everything. He almost killed the Phrygian Republic.
Right. And he was defeated a second time.
Yes.
So I want to narrow my search down to the second time he was defeated that mentions the Shields of Calvenza people.
Yeah. Luckily, they do have a large number of texts, and so they can get you, a clerk will find you a nice digestible 40-page version of the history of that conflict. And essentially, so you're starting near the end of the day, but as you're sort of wrapping up today reading this last little pamphlet, you can find that Kalrul the Vile is, as far as the Deadwood is concerned, the first necromancer. Not globally, not in human history, but he was Kalrul.
Oh.
He was the founder of the Necromortis. And with another druid, which was the Deadwood Conclave, the two of those worked together, and that's what made like the modern, horrifying hellhole that is the Deadwood. They made alliances with the Blights and all this stuff. All this happened a very long time ago. It was in the year around, I think it's 1080. Yeah, it's around the year 1080 that the first war is carried out. And the book you're reading includes a very brief summary, which is essentially Kalrul the Vile led a colossal undead legion, nearly defeating the Republic. He sacked two major cities, Ravinium and Parla, and began to move on to Tarako. But then his army was stopped by a unified force of the Republic and a legendary general, and then he was killed. Then, in 1143, he came back, because he's a necromantic thing. But he was killed again by heroes of the Republic named the Shield of Calvenza. Each one of them is legendary in their own right, having established legend. In terms of like CR or like level, each one of them was a level 10 adventurer. I actually played out the death of Kalrul in a one-shot like 3 or 4 years ago. And so it was a legendary fight. Some of the Shields of Calvenza died, and they managed to take every one of his artifacts. And the traditional story says that they were all destroyed, but you can instantly tell that is untrue.
Does it say what houses they are?
Yeah, let me go check.
Narrow it down to the ones.
I would have to get back to you on that. I know that one of them is one of the most important people ever of Clan Bologna. He was a general and then later a hero. So he's like one of the, even nowadays, he's a legendary figure.
Who was in our party that was Bologna? Was it Lars or was it Max?
Fargrim and Maximus were both a part of Clan Bologna.
Okay. But that would be like...
However, you have to keep in mind that the clan system wasn't that big of a deal in the Republic. Clans were not like your political status. They were like your actual bloodline. Like similar to the noble houses everywhere else in the world, it's just your last name. Nowadays in the Empire means something totally different.
So House Bologna is one of the houses. Do I know where their main noble quarters are?
Indeed. It's here in Mythos in the Great Department of War. They've been the heads of the Department of War since it was founded by the first emperor.
And the Department of War kind of hates us right now.
They're not friendly with you. I think it's just -1 though. I'll double check. I
thought that everyone hated us after...
No, it's minor, It's just a -1. -1 is not that big of a deal. They're just kind of peeved at you. The civility is starting to get a little bit, a little bit annoyed. You guys have done a lot of violating of basic, civil liberties.
And necromancy magic comes off as a specific, I would know if something was necromantic from my detect magic, right?
Yeah, it's a school of magic.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure I'd be able to, tell the difference between it and an evocation staff or something, in case I ever make my way there.
Yeah. No, yeah, you would instantly notice. And if it is as powerful as this thing claims, one of the other things you can notice from detect magic is the strength of the magic. Typically, magic, I would say, falls within the same sort of spectrum of 3 to 6 in strength, but incredibly powerful things like artifacts are going to be blindingly bright to look at, and then very, very diminutive weak items like a cloak of billowing. I don't know if you know what that is. It's just a cloak that billows when you say a command word. That would be on the very, very lower end. So yeah, not only would it be obvious it's necromantic, it should be blinding if it's an artifact.
Okay.
So you spent the day in the library.
Yeah. I need to get my robes dyed as well.
Okay, this says quite a bit about Zednius. The fact that he spends his first day off in months in a fucking library. Well,
Look, I'm a curious guy.
yeah, that's I understand. I get it. As you leave the church and begin to take a few steps outside, you're stretching your legs. You hear the clearing of a throat, and you glance to your left and see a well-dressed member of the Imperial Courier Service. He holds an outstretched letter to you in his gloved hands. For you, Master Zednius.
Oh, thank you.
Gives a bow and then moves on his way. The scroll is secured only by a string. There is no seal on it.
Does it have a scent?
Not particularly.
Okay. Quick check. It's not magic. I don't know.
Yeah, you're casting Detect Magic.
Yep.
Yep, your eyes flash with light as you look at the scroll. Nope, not magical.
Okay, just open it up then.
Yep, you open up the scroll. Inside, most of the page, about the top, 90% of it is empty, and at the very bottom of the page, there's the Frumentari word of heat.
Oh, okay. I get what it's saying. Are there any torches nearby, or fires or braziers?
Yeah, it's starting to get late, and also you're near a temple, so there's ceremonial braziers on either side of the entrance to the Captiosan Library. There's also just torches
I need
for
to
light.
find somewhere not in the middle of everything though, because if I just hold this up to a torch in the street, that's gonna look weird.
That would be pretty funny. Are you going to go find a hotel then?
Yeah, I think so.
It's easy enough. You don't even have to leave the Imperial District. All around the Imperial complexes, there are homes and taverns and essentially everything to cater to the thousands and thousands of bureaucrats which work within the great departments. And you can find yourself a very nice hotel and shuck over 2 Electrum. A very small amount for you, my rich lad. And you can get a private room, and there will be a candle sitting on the nightstand, which you can just light.
All right, I'll light the candle, and then I'll hold the paper up to it.
Yeah, you've done this many times before. It's one of the chief ways that you got messages between you and Tullius when you were undercover at the temple in Redinium. And slowly, as it moves underneath the page, the text, which was there the whole time, begins to burn and light up, and the wax begins to bubble a little bit, and the message comes through in blackened ink. It reads, "The Black Horse Warehouse at the Dock District. Come by moonlight, post haste."
Black Horse Warehouse. It's dark already, right? So
it's already starting to get near the end of day. Yeah, it's like the sun's coming down.
Well, I'll wait. Well, it says come by moonlight, so I'll wait until it's dark enough to where it's just the moon.
Okay.
I'll just hang out, read through this pamphlet a little more.
Yeah, you read more through this pamphlet on Samnia. It seems to, it's.
Was I able to take the book on the Shields of Calvenza?
No.
Okay.
Any mention of Kavrul falls.
But you will get back to me on the names of those people.
Their houses? Oh, sorry, yeah. I will definitely get back to you. Actually, one sec. I have another place that I can check for their names. And I will just go look at it. Because it should be here, surely. I'm going to dedicate like 3 more seconds to looking for this, and I don't find it. Nope, I don't know where it is. I mean, I know where to find it, I can't get it quickly. Yeah, I'll get back to you on those. As for the packet, the mention of... When you guys arrive to Ravinium, there's some things that I described, like the dueling culture, the coffee house. This is what it mentions on Samnia. Unfortunately, if you want to know about the old city of Samnia, like what it used to be like before it was destroyed, this tells you a lot. But if you want to know about what it is like nowadays, it's less than useless. It's actually ruins, misleading. Yeah.
Got revenants or something, a bunch of crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, exactly. So mentally image, just think of Batavia, not anything this packet tells you.
Right.
But you glance out your window after a little bit, and you do see that the sun has fully gone down. The moon has begun to rise in the sky, and you can see it's time. I mean, it is moonlight. If you want to go right now, now would be the time.
Oh, I wanted to check in on Hegal and see what he thought of any of this Calrol stuff.
Yeah, he's been very quiet over the last couple weeks. And as he sits on your shoulder, what do you ask him? Keep in mind his limited ability.
Right. What do you think of this Randaroran and this Elfsbane?
When you say Elfsbane, there's sort of like a hiss that comes from Hitagal. Evil.
Mm. More than one person?
No.
Interesting. But nothing when I said... Oh, I said Randaroran first. You know anything about... No. What did he mean defeathered? Did you have wings? Or did the elves have wings?
He's kind of somber for a moment, and you know Hetagal very well, and you can tell that he's actually kind of like pouting. And he says, "Winged." Yes.
Is that somewhat well known?
No, you've never heard
No,
of elves
nobody.
having wings.
Okay. So some elves were winged.
Indeed.
Or
Seems like
many elves?
Yeah, he says, "Blessed."
Blessed. By?
He's sort of quiet for a second, and you can feel him sort of like moving side to side on your shoulder. Dead gods.
Mm.
The strain seems to have annoyed him a little bit, and he puddles on your shoulder.
Yeah, I'll leave him alone. I won't push any harder for right now.
He did 2 whole words. He's a hero.
I know, but it's like this is an emotional toll as well.
Yeah.
Because it would be like, well, who killed them? But I'll save that for later.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Black Horse.
Okay, so obviously you're once a spy, and this is sort of dipping into that realm and sort of relying on those skills. So what are some precautions you're taking what's your strategy as you approach the warehouse?
I dress down.
Looking like a common?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have Hegal tail me.
From a ways back or a ways forward or?
A ways back.
Okay.
To see if anyone's following me. What else would I do? I don't want to be seen or followed. What would be some threats? I feel like that's pretty good.
Okay. All right, then. You begin to head out towards the docks of the greatest city in the world. There are hundreds of ships at the harbor. Many of the sailors are enjoying the local amenities of the city.
Oh, I'd probably take like a long way or something. I wouldn't take a direct line.
Okay. You're actually not familiar with the Black Horse warehouses in particular, but you know it's at the dock. So there's a total of 16 piers in Mythos. So you'll have to basically walk along each of them looking for your target. Are you just trying to act like you're a normal dude going for a nightly walk? Or are you trying to be stealthy, like moving from crate to crate?
How late is it? Is it empty?
You waited a couple hours, so it'd probably be like near 8 or 9 o'clock. So there's tons of people in the dock. People that were just finished unloading their ships, getting a drink.
I'm just like somebody that's also walking along the docks.
Great. Roll me a perception check. Okay, you get a mental image from Pet Hagal. It's a flash, almost like like a photo taken and sent to your mind of there's a puddle. So you're walking along the docks. There's a puddle behind you, and there's this ripple in the puddle, like someone stepped in it, but there's no one there.
Oh, so someone is following me invisibly?
Whatever you take from that. So
How
far,
far
you've looked
back
at
was
3
it?
of the 12 piers. And in terms of distance, it was like 10 feet behind you. That's the only reason why Hennigal seemed to have noticed it, because they're following so close behind you.
Someone invisible is following me. What do I do about that?
And you are in the middle of public. Like, there's dozens of other dock workers going about their business and things like that. It's a very busy dock.
Right. I mean, there's no reason I couldn't just go into a corner and invisible myself
Yeah.
and then fly until I find it. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay. You fly up, you walk
I
over
go,
towards an
yeah, I
alleyway.
go somewhere
Hedgehog
inconspicuous.
tracing behind you. And you just like quickly dip into the alleyway, go invisible.
Yep.
All right, burn the spell slot. You go invisible, and then you lift up off the ground. Hedgehog, it remains stranded, but he will do his best to follow you from below. And after, since you're flying, you can very quickly find the Black Horse Warehouse. It sits at the very end of one of the docks, Pier 8. The pier is mostly empty of people. There's a small little a small little cutter, which has a crew of about 50, still unloading, but that's about it. The rest of the dock is silent. And the Black Horse Warehouse sits, seems to be not abandoned. There's lights still on the inside, and there's a single person standing outside the front door, but it does seem pretty quiet.
What does the person looks like?
Yeah, you can fly
somebody?
down, still invisible, and get a better look at him. The man is a butler. He's in the uniform of a master servant, and you can recognize on his left lapel there's a small little, essentially a signet for House Perusian, or Clan Perusian.
Okay.
Or no, it is House. Fuck, I spoke right the first time.
I'm gonna go into an alley and wait for 10 minutes to see if this invisible person knows where I went and is following me.
How
And
would you do that?
what do you mean? I would go into an alley and just wait for 10 minutes.
How would you
Like-
know if they're following you?
Well, they might confront me, I'm not sure.
Oh,
If I just
okay.
wait here.
All right, then you fly down towards an alleyway that still gives you a view of the warehouse, and you alight onto the floor of this alleyway. You sit down. Hetagal finally catches up and rolls up onto your shoulder. And the two of you wait. A couple minutes pass.
How busy is this alley?
This alley? Not at all.
Okay, then I flash my detect magic.
Yeah, your eyes begin to glow, and you look around the alleyway. Other than you and Hetagal, there is no magic.
Then I will go to the butler, I believe.
So you're still invisible, and you're just flying out to the...
Oh, hold on. Let me double read the note.
Okay.
I might uninvisible and then go to the butler, but I need to make sure I'm reading the note right. Come by moonlight post. Yeah, I mean, if it's House Verusian, I just go right up to him.
Okay. Perusian,
not invisible.
which is the Imperial
Oh,
clan.
it's a different house.
Yeah. Well, Verusian is your bloodline. It means that you are recognized as being descended from the first emperor. Whereas Perusian is the royal clan. Though I think you were adopted into that, right?
Yes.
Were you?
I mean, if I was adopted by Tullius,
That would make you still... The clan is a different thing. You're still
Oh.
Zednius Titus Fabricius Verusian. Okay. I remember somebody got a name change. I thought it may have been you. But
I
yeah.
think it was Maximus got the name changed to the Department of Faith.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, Perusian is going to be essentially just the immediate Imperial family. So yeah, you can uncloak yourself, uninvisible, and just walk down the dock to the man. One of the sailors that's unloading the clipper sort of gives you a wave. You can wave back. Just seems to be being a friendly guy. And as you get about 30 feet away from the butler, he sees you the whole time, but he sort of stiffens his posture and says, "Welcome, Lord Zednius."
Hello?
You
Someone's here to see me?
Yes, you can go on in.
Thank you.
And as you head to the door and begin to open it, you see the butler sort of calmly take out a small little hat and place it on a stool beside him.
Interesting. Okay. Does that mean anything in Frumentari culture at all?
Not that you know of. It's
Okay.
clearly a signal of some sort, but
Yeah.
you head inside the warehouse. It's quiet. It's stacked with crates, a great many of them. But a section of the near the heart of the warehouse has been cleared out with a pair of two chairs facing each other.
It's just me in here.
Yep.
Flash the eyes real quick.
Your eyes glow. You look around. Some of the crates have abjuration magic on them, but
Okay.
that's about.
But I'll just take a seat in the chair.
Are you just keeping detect magic going?
No.
Okay. You sit down. A few moments pass. You hear the sound of the front door opening. A couple more moments pass. And then you see Tullius materialize in the chair across from you. He has a hard expression on his face, as he most of the time does when he's interacting with anyone but you. He's wearing dark common clothes. You see a dagger at his waist. Clearly magical. Like, you don't even need detect magic to notice that.
Well, yeah, it's
And he gives you a look up and down.
the same one that killed Hegal a few sessions ago.
Yeah, it would be that
That
one.
he threw and then was gone.
Yeah. He looks you up and down and says, "Well, you managed to give me the slip. Well done, young one." And he stands up and extends his arms to hug you.
I stand up and reciprocate.
Yeah, the embrace is a hard one and swift. Tullius withdraws and there's a smile on his face. He seems to, his eyes linger on the equipment and scars you've acquired since you left for the Deadwood. He obviously saw you during the time there, but didn't really, spend much time chatting. And as he pulls back a little bit, he says, "Back when you were a boy, you never could have done that."
Well, I've learned a few tricks.
I thought that I was going to be the one giving you a lecture, but perhaps you have one for me.
Oh?
Well, I thought that you'd forgotten your spycraft and how to be caught, but I couldn't find you. You went into that alleyway and then you just disappeared. I assume you went invisible, but I used detect magic and I still couldn't find you.
You use detect magic out in public like that?
You were invisible. Only the ambient glow was visible, not your eyes.
Oh.
Most people don't recognize what an ambient glow is, and most of them are drunk. At worst, there'll be a story of a wisp haunting the docks. Pats you on the shoulder. Well, I suppose I should let you keep a couple of secrets, such as how you evaded me. But, your estate. You should go view it. I've been busy for the last couple of days, interrogating traders in the south, but I've managed to secure a week off from my duties. I think you'll be happy to finally have a home, right?
Of course, definitely. It's been my dream.
Good. Our good friend Publius has already fetched the cart outside, and we can start making our way to the estate. There's no reason to delay.
I'm ready when you are.
The two of you guys can exit the warehouse. The butler has pulled a cart to the end of the dock. There's two black horses at the front, and the edge of the cart is emblazoned with the Imperial seal. But just before you get in, Tullius will approach the back of the cart where there's a sort of a trunk, essentially. It's a small little storage compartment, and he will produce a bottle of wine from in there, though it's not very well marked or decorated. It just seems to be a glass bottle with some liquid inside. And he'll climb into the cart with you, and after the cart begins to rattle away, he'll hold up the bottle of wine. 1268 vintage of Pavaranthan Red. Do you know why it's unique?
1268. What year was that?
1276. It was 4 years ago.
Oh, 1276. Of what red?
Pavaranthan Red.
Oh, I'm not sure.
You see, it was that year that the beast of Basra, the great broodfather of the Red Dragons, rose up in the Vorn Mountain and covered all of Cavaranthan in ash. I was told by a reliable sommelier that this is one of 14 new bottles produced in the whole country that year. He speaks with pride, a wide smile filling his face and his eyes twinkling with joy. You and I will be some of the only people in the Empire to enjoy this delicacy. You, me, and the Emperor.
What a great honor.
He nods and reaches to the side where a couple of wine glasses are. And as the cart rides through the night, exiting Mythos, you guys begin to talk. There's a lot to catch up on. It's been a couple months, and even before that, you had been going from job to job for some time, so he hadn't really gotten a chance to sit down with you in years. He'll talk to you about some political topics, of course, the war on the plains, the damage inflicted on the South by both the conflict and the purge of the traitors, the war that seems to be developing in Breton with sectarian violence, but that's more left to the side. He begins to ask after your personal health, after your growth in the Deadwood, and it's been a couple hours now, 3 or 4 hours after you guys have left Mythos, and you have moved on from the Cavaranthian Red to some Dwarven Ale, which also has begun to have a pretty high price tag these days due to the essentially destruction of Dwarven life. And he says, well, what about, have you thought at all about marriage? It would look good on me, after all.
Marriage?
Well, you are my adoptive son. Securing a political alliance could be good for the both of us.
That is true, but would that mean I have to give up my adventuring?
Probably not. I mean, consuls and soldiers in the field still have wives. Have you met no wonderful lady which has garnered your attention?
Not a lot. We've not been too social these days. Mostly just fighting the Deadwood,
Yes, I understand. There's a reason why I don't have any children of my own. A Frumentari's life doesn't quite correspond with having kids. But I'd like my legacy to continue. And I think I'm getting a bit old to do it myself.
I'm sure you're not too old.
What about when your term as judge has ended? What then? You finished your service to the Empire as a Frumentari.
Not sure. It feels like there's still so much work to do. I'm reading now about these lost artifacts and all sorts of things.
There's a great amount to do in service of the Empire as a judge, but eventually, whether it be to, God forbid, the death of the Emperor and a new Department of Faith being created, or there are a great many political machinations in Mythos which could result as you being relieved as judge. Just on the off chance it does happen, then what? You're no longer in the nauseous slums fighting for survival. You can have more grand ambitions than seeing the next morning.
It's true. I haven't thought much about family. I'm not sure. I just feel so young still.
I'm sure you do, but, well, your age doesn't lie. When my father was your age, he'd already had me, my brother, and 2 sisters.
Oh.
And there are peasants who have lived and died in the time that you've been alive. Most of them don't live past, I think nowadays, they either die before they're a child or they die in their 20s due to some absurd thing. Just saying you should take a look at it. If you want to secure long-term political power, there is no better way than having children.
Mm-hmm. What sort of families were you thinking?
Certainly one of the other great clans. Probably one currently in the favor of the Emperor. He's getting old, but his nephew seems as if he'll carry most of his uncle's policies on. That would mean that Clan Betusia, Clan Lartia, Clan Fabricia, Ignia, Bologna, any of these would be acceptable marriage candidates, and if you can find one with a prestigious bloodline, that'd be even better.
Now, here's out of character. Maybe I've watched too many Game of Thrones. But wouldn't it make sense for me to find someone in Varuzian to secure me into that bloodline, since I technically don't have any blood from there?
You can certainly ask him. You can certainly ask.
I don't know how, but it's. I don't know if that's classed as incest, and if that's gonna heresy.
Yeah, I guess it's worth going. So your first 3 names denote your actual family. First name is your name. Second name is your father's name. Third name is your family name. You don't have a father's name. It's just your first name, Zednius, your family name, Titus, and then the rest of your shit. Because Tullius didn't want you named after your father because he was, who he was.
Right. So wait, where does Titus come from then?
Titus is your family name. That is Tullius's family name.
Okay.
Clans are political organizations. So there's no, literally has nothing to do with blood or like descendancy or anything like that. Then the last name, which for you is Verusian, for others is Captiosan, or there's a couple of other ones. All of these, they denote lineage from someone, but there's a colossal number of people who can claim they're born from that person. The first emperor, Aurelian, well, not the first emperor, but the first god emperor, Aurelian Varus Sol, he was born almost 100 years ago. He had a bunch of kids. His kids have had kids, and then there's been adoptions into that family. So, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people across the empire who claim Verusian, and literally none of them are related to you by blood. So, it's not at all seen as incestuous. But it's not as if, your kids would have a more legitimate claim. You have a perfectly legal claim to, being a part of Clan Verusian, who were adopted into it by the emperor.
So I'm like a legitimized heir to Tullius's stuff. Okay.
Yeah. In every way possible. And it was signed off by the emperor himself, so no one could ever question its legal viability.
Oh my god, the emperor knows my name.
Certainly, he signed a document with it on it.
Okay. Then I will ponder this. It does seem very useful.
Yeah. The carriage continues to ride onward, but you begin to grow weary. The large amount of alcohol and the long carriage ride awaiting you very quickly begins to get you sleepy. So happy conversation, booze, and a steady supply of food from the butler makes the day-and-a-half long journey to Tarocco feel like a breeze. You know you're going eastward. That's the only way you know you're going to Tarocco, or at least somewhere in that vicinity. And you barely notice anything outside the window as the cart rattles along. That is until Tullius raises a hand and points towards the window. In the distance, you can see the silhouette of the great city of Tarocco. But your cart is no longer on one of the imperial roads. It is on a dirty country path with snow on either side. It's growing into the dead of winter now, almost frost the last month of the year. Then your eyes follow Tullius' finger that moves, and he says, Tortio Poste. In the distance of where he's pointing, you see the Galantian Sea. This time of year, it is a dark, angering, and thundering body of water. But sitting atop a bluff overlooking the sea, with fields draped in snow, is a manor house. More of a complex than just a manor. There are 9 buildings total. Tullius points out each of them as you approach. The manor house, the servants' building, the watchtower, the stables, the granary, the smithy. Those 2 buildings are slave barracks. And lastly, of course, the shrine. Your eyes drift from one to another. Tullius hasn't explicitly said it yet, but you know it. All of this is yours. How does Zednius feel? It's the first real home he's ever had.
And it sounds great.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of property, a lot of buildings.
Very exciting.
Exciting. Okay. The cart pulls up into the rotunda leading up to the manor house. The whole staff seems to have been forewarned that you guys were coming. And there are about 40 of them out, gathered in a crowd on either side of the entryway. In the middle of the path is a master servant, similarly dressed to the butler that led your cart here. As Tullius steps out of the carriage, the servants begin to clap, and Tullius steps to the side and gestures towards you, and the clapping intensifies. The master servant approaches and does a deep bow, and Tullius says, "This is Master Servant Cassius. He's the only one you ever need to speak to. The rest of them," and he'll sort of gesture with a hand, and the crowd will begin to disperse. "They will simply be in the background. If you know their names, they're doing something wrong."
I'm gonna whisper to Tullius, how can I afford all of this?
It's to be paid for by the Emperor.
In perpetuity? The servants,
I need to be worried about it. Don't worry about it yet. We can talk about that once we've looked around the property. Okay. The master servant does lifts up from his bow and says, "We are looking forward to serving you, Lord Zednius. It is good to have someone owning the property again."
How long has it been vacant?
About 6 months. We have been, of course, paid by the governor, but we live to serve. And the master servant says, "Is there anything that I can fetch you?"
What time of day is it?
It's, you were riding for about a day and a half. You left at night. So that would be probably around noon.
Yes, get us a meal ready.
Of course, your lordship. And he steps away, and Tullius sort of grabs your shoulder and says, well, let's give you the tour. And he begins to climb up the stone steps into the foyer. Everything here is just large. This manor house is about as big as the chapel you stayed in Redinium, like the whole thing. Your room in that chapel is essentially a broom closet, so all this space is a bit overwhelming. And as he leads you through, he says, around 90 years ago, the governor of Tarako began to get a bit too big for his britches. He believed that he could one day become emperor himself, thought that, well, any man can just grab an army and march on the capital. And so when he saw his chance during the Light Wars, he took it. He died. All of his sons died. His daughters died. Everyone related to him did. And so all of his estates found themselves in the personal possession of the emperor. However, the emperor has no need for half a dozen personal estates spread across all of Cisatlia, and so he passed them on to relevant nobles and merchants. This property here was sold to a, believe it or not, fur merchant. I don't know where he got the money together, but it didn't last forever, and about 6 months ago he defaulted and sold the property back to the Empire. I secured it for you at a bargain price, and the maintenance, it'll be subsidized by me until you can deal with the specifics, and of course my accounts are subsidized by the Emperor, so in a roundabout way, he's paid for all of this. And he'll lead you through a 25-room house. That's not including the servants' quarters in the building. This is just including, like, living space for you. There's 3 living rooms, several bedrooms, several guest chambers, a fencing hall. And as you guys are walking through, he's giving you, the statistics of the property, the 42 servants, the 127 debt slaves that live on the property, though at the moment they're being rented out to masters in Tarako because they can't do any planting during the winter, so it's better for them to do some work so it earns you money. And then Tullius's lengthy strides lead you to a large set of double doors. It's a blackened wood, and it takes you a moment to recognize it. But as Tullius grabs one of the handles, you recognize that the doors are made of deadwood. Then Tullius opens them, and you find your mouth gaping. Shaped almost like a shrine with a domed roof is a gorgeous library. Wooden ladders, a central circular desk, and books climbing nearly a story high. This single room is probably worth more than the rest of your estate combined. Your mind grapples with the number of books. 2 gold dragons for just a single common text. Some of these are in foreign tongues, others look old. By the almighty, it must be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of gold in just books. There's also a golden sphere near the center of the chamber. The gold has been hammered into a shape resembling Valoros. The detail improves within the Empire, and the Imperial roads have been chiseled into the surface. Tullius' eyes rest on you. He seems to be gauging your reaction.
I'm just, looking all around this room, up and around, and, almost jaw-dropping.
To answer your question, it's 3,000.
That many?
3,000 books. The governor was stockpiling them because he intended this to be an estate for his eldest son, a wizard, but obviously he never got to take advantage of it. There's a couple of arcane texts in here as well.
Are they organized somewhere?
Yes, and he'll guide you in. There you can see that once the doors are closed, it's a full 360. Basically the entire room, even above the doorway, is all covered with these bookshelves. And he points towards an area which is a small little, basically a shelf that's covered by a glass covering and a little lock. And behind it you see 3 scrolls in a book. Those 3 are scrolls recovered from the eldest son after he was slain. And that book there is his spell book. There's still a bit of blood on the interior pages, though, so you'll want to be gentle when you handle it. That's not where all the books came from, though. You see, the rebellious governor, he was not the first to seek above his station in Tarako. Several governors in the past had sponsored the library of Tarako, but when the armies of Aurelian Var's soul descended on the city, the library was destroyed. But it'd of course be a crime for all that knowledge to be lost. An arcanist under the employ of Aurelian Var's soul saved some of the books from the library. They were spirited to various locations before calling this home. This is all that's left of that library, an academic tradition which stretched back to just after the Shattering.
Goodness.
It's all yours now. You have the deed and everything. Even if I wished to take it all back, I couldn't. I'll have a servant to make us some food. Please, have a look around, and not just here, the rest of the estate. I know it will take some time to get used to it all.
Yeah, I'll look around this room. What seemed to be like the general gist of the knowledge here?
Looking around, it's old. None of this stuff is from within the last 100 years, so there's going to be nothing on modern, like, political events, nothing on, like, really anything of, like, modern stuff. But there is a lot of alternate languages here. There's a lot of Elvish books, there's a lot of ancient mythos books, there's a lot of Symbolan and Dwarvish. Basically, only, like, 1/4 of all the text is written in Common or Mythos. 3/4 of it is in another language. What languages do you speak? I know you speak Symbolan, because half-elf, but what else?
Let me open up my sheet. It is Common, Dwarvish, Frumentarii, Mythos, Symbolan, and Tabrash.
Okay, so there's no books written in Tabrashan, but with Dwarvish and Symbolan, you can start to get the idea of what this library actually is. It is a historiographer's library, meaning there's a large amount of books in here that are concerned with the study of history and determining truth from amidst all the historical accounts. Like, several of the Dwarven books in here are analysis by Imperial Dwarves on Dwarven history, basically saying that, you know, your guess is based on some of these titles that they are hypercritical of the mainstream narrative of Dwarven history. There are also smithing texts in here, and things on armor crafting, so magical armor crafting. For the Symbolan text, a lot of it is either Westbaran or Galadrim, which are the two western half-elven kingdoms, chronicles of their own history. There is a couple of things that look a bit older in the sense that the spelling seems a little bit olden-timey for you, which for Symbolan is going to be millennia old.
Okay.
That is on spellcrafting. And then most of the Common and Mythos texts are on religion.
I'm gonna fly Hegal, or carry him, I'm not sure, through the Elven area and see if he says...
Yeah, his
what
eyes
do you
pass
think
along the
these
titles,
are?
and after a few moments he says, history.
I see.
He translates some of the text, mostly just sending, like, basically showing you his mental image of the edge of the spine with a little bit of the meaning conveyed. The texts all seem to be first-hand accounts of people living in the Elven Empire, so elves living in the Elven Empire. Things like, one of them is a collection of letters written by scholars. Another one is a priestly account of the Divine Order, you know, things like this, where it's a collection of very dead people talking about their very
And
dead
anything
empire.
written in Elvish is written by the elves, I assume.
Not necessarily. The Elven
Not necessarily.
Common is a derivative of Elvish, and so the lingua franca of the entire world was still Elvish for centuries, almost a millennia after the fall of the Empire.
Okay. Okay. Check out the master bedroom.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a 4-poster bed. There is a servant just sitting in the corner silently. She has, like, her face covered and seems to be trying to, like, practically blend in with the furniture. There is several nightstands. There's a draw cord for calling upon servants. You can see a bell attached to it. It's so opulent. It's too much. It's a lot. It's just a pretty stark transition. The bedroom also provides a view out to the fields and the ocean.
It probably resembles sort of the visions that I was seeing as a child, right?
Which one?
Let me look at my bio. One night he had a dream. He heard of power. Oh, it only offered power and the potential to escape.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I never didn't necessarily see anything.
What power would look like, yeah. But
Okay.
I think, I mean, I'd be curious when Zednius, obviously, you know, for a long time, from 11 to, 14, he was doing Frumentarii training, which is brutal. He had no place to stay. He was moving constantly. Then he lived in the fucking broom closet of a church for the better part of 10 years. And over the course, that's like basically, most of his life. For the majority of his
Right.
life, he has had no home, and before that, he was living in the slums where he had a home, but it was more dangerous than being out on the streets. So, you know, it certainly seems a bit overwhelming to have all of this
It
thrust
is. It
upon
is
you at once.
almost too good to be true. But then I remember, I'm Zednius, Titus, or Bishop Verusian, so
And it's
this is
Tullius.
mine.
He's never done you wrong.
No.
See, that sounded, I just realized, that sounded like it was suspicious, but I swear, it's not. It's just true. He's never done you wrong.
I mean, if he does double cross me, I'll never see it coming. So.
Yeah, I mean, your life will be over. I mean, he's given you everything you have.
Yep.
Yeah, you make your
Although
way
I
to
gave him the slip. Maybe I'm surpassing him.
Truly. You ask a servant for help to find the dining room. It's too big. The house is too big. You don't know where it is. But the servant will quickly guide you there, and a feast. This you've had before. You've had feast. Tullius gave you a great many of them during your time in training. It was one of the things that he always made sure of, that you were getting proper nutrition. And so this is not too overwhelming. You have the finest food, veal and boars, things which at this time in winter are painfully expensive. You get all sorts of wines, and he will tell you about each of the vintages that he's acquired. You know, there's not a lot of things that bring Tullius joy, mostly talking to you, and then also rare alcohol gives him a colossal amount of joy. And the evening is a blur of just talking and eating, and it's hard to believe that you could keep talking to one person for such a long period, and yet there's no sense of boredom in it all. It's more than just a father. It's like it's a friend. But near the end of the evening, you find yourself relaxing. The fire is roaring as you're in one of the house's many living rooms, and you've been in silence for a couple minutes, just staring and sort of sipping in the moment. And then Tullius says, "A couple of months ago, before I made my way down to the Deadwood frontier, I was near Parla and Transatlia. While there, I learned about a learned hermit living in the foothills. He was once a scholar of elven lore, but was banned from the University of Parla for theories on the nature of the divine and divinity. The theories, frankly, should have been enough for him to be burned there at the spot on the stake, not simply censured. But it did get me thinking. Your friend," and his eyes sort of briefly lift from the fireplace and look towards your shoulder, where he seems to know Hednagal is there, but he's looking on the wrong shoulder, so he just sort of knows Hednagal's in that general spot. He can't actually see him. And he says, "Perhaps this hermit could know more about it. I've been ordered to make the servant disappear, but he's low on my priority list. You could speak with him, see if he could assist you. Then I could do my duty."
Where on the outskirts of Parla is he?
He's in a small town named Arpagia. It's in the Transatlian foothills. That's his last reported location. He may have run since then, though I find it unlikely. He seems more like a scholar and less of a bandit living in the hills.
Where did you click over here?
Yeah, right there.
Okay. And right now we're up here.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, let's move the token there. Yeah, that's your estate just outside of Tarako.
Okay. What kind of population do I have in this estate?
42 servants, 127 slaves.
What do the slaves be doing?
Right now, they're working in Tarako for the winter, but typically they would work for you and to the fields. Though you haven't been told what you actually farm here yet.
Okay.
And he'll say, "I'm not sure what exactly he could assist you with, but I'm sure there's something. Is there anything you could use assistance with in the realm of your friend?"
He tries to tell me, or did he just ask me if there's anything I need assistance with?
In the realm
Did he
of...
ask?
Yeah, your friend.
Oh.
Yeah.
He helps me a lot in these fights, but I almost wish, he did his own thing. And I also wish, he tells me, very cryptic things, one or two words at a time. I wish maybe I
Perhaps
could
the
crack
scholar
in
can
there.
help you with that then.
I hope
He is
so.
very learned on the Empire. I still can't believe he wasn't burned alive the second his paper was published. I mean, the brazenness of him. In a time of war, no less. never told you this, but when you first stole from me in Nasius, I'd had half the mind to have your hand removed. I'd done it to other urchins. But I was already thinking of the nearest legionary barracks, and then I felt something. It was like a gut instinct. The instinct told me that, well, it made me want to go find an inquisitor to deal with you. Something more than a legionary barracks, have you burned alive in the town square. I couldn't explain where the gut instinct had come from, I just felt it. I think it was your friend. But when I looked in your eyes, your hair, your dirty face, the fear, it reminded me of my little brother.
You haven't told me much of him.
He sort of wipes at his face, and I don't intend to start now, but I just think it'd be good for you to know more about your colleague. He's one of the reasons you're here today.
I didn't know that.
Well, don't go soft to me now. You should get some sleep. I think tomorrow we should head out there. I have some business I need to attend to in Parla. You can deal with your the holy man, or the learned man in Arpeggio. Could be a double feature.
All right.
He stands up. A brief moment of sincerity seems to have passed, and he'll pat you on the shoulder and begin to climb up towards one of the guest bedrooms. The servant is still sort of silently sitting in the corner.
I'll get up and go to bed, I suppose.
Yeah, the servant will guide you to your bed chamber. Your bed has been pre-warmed with a bed warming pan, and so you just snuggle up beneath the covers, and within a moment, you are out. Sun hits your face the following day as you groggily awaken. You dreamt the night before, not the vivid dreams of a prophecy, nor like the strange dreams the night of the earthquake. Instead, you dreamt of happy memories, of Tullius training you. It was brutal, to be sure, floggings, beatings, and such a level of physical exertion that you thought you were going to die. But it made you the man you are today. A slight smile grows on your face. All that you have now started there, in a muddy field outside of Nasius, running laps back and forth across the open earth. Your lungs just screaming for you to stop, but you knew you couldn't. You couldn't give up that opportunity. You can hear the sound of the estate having come to life around you. There's people downstairs, presumably preparing breakfast, and you almost like jump back when you realize there's still a servant standing in the corner. It's not the same woman, you don't think, but she's in the exact same clothing, and she's just standing in the corner of your room as you awake. It's not your favorite feeling to be having been watched while you were sleeping.
No.
She just sort of still, though. She's just wordlessly standing there staring at you.
Okay. I'll kind of like shrug and go about getting ready.
Yeah. You guys have a opulent breakfast. Tullius seems a bit preoccupied this morning. He's had couriers coming in in and out all throughout the morning, looking at pieces of paper, signing what seems to be penning responses, and then sending them back out as you guys are eating breakfast. But once you have sort of finished it up, he'll say, "Well, it's best we get on the road. It's going to be about a day and a half to Parla."
Quick question.
Yep.
Is it normal to have a servant in your bedchambers at all hours?
Of course.
Yes? Okay.
If you ever have the pleasure of having a wife, they'll be there to watch your new son being born.
Oh.
Simply what they do. That is what their duty are in our life. What if you had, gotten your neck stuck in the covers and you began to suffocate? That is why servants are here. To make our lives easy, keep us safe, and, obviously stay quiet about it all.
Okay.
I personally vetted everyone on your staff. I wouldn't worry too much. I've hired a great number of them. And you guys are at the dinner table. Breakfast table. There are several other servants around, and you watch as the master servant sort of cringes when, Tullius mentions half the staff that he fired.
Okay.
But Tullius stands up, stretches a little bit. He is getting older. Like, when you knew him 10 years ago, he was already like kind of old. He was in his late 40s. Now he's getting really up there. And yet, he just stretches. He's still in remarkable physical shape. He must be in his, you don't actually know his age. You think he's in his early 50s, maybe late 50s, but doesn't seem to be getting him to him quite yet. He'll say, well, let's get in the car. Some correspondence I need to write. You wouldn't believe how annoying some of these provincial governors are. And
I'm sure it keeps you busy.
You guys will get in the cart, and this time, as you guys begin to ride away from Torchio Poste out into the Sisatlian countryside, Tullius is a lot quieter. He seems to be more focused. He's frequently writing notes and letters and handing them up to the carriage driver, though obviously the carriage driver can't be like handing up to couriers. It just seems to be storage for later. So there's not a lot of talking. It's more so, quiet contemplation and the occasional sound of him etching notes. Writing in a carriage is kind of annoying. Your ink pot sloshing side to side as you're trying to write. It's not the best experience, but he seems to be pretty focused on that. So, alone, you sort of recognize the look on Tullius' face as he works. For the first years of your training, you would shadow Tullius when he did missions within the Empire. And in the lead up to every mission, Tullius got this sort of grim look of focus on his face. And, he has that now. With the wide breadth of places you visited, though, you can sort of put Sisatlia into perspective. It is remarkably developed. It's the province around Tarraco. And it isn't called the gateway to the Empire for nothing. Imperial roads crisscross every which way, and watchtowers dot the road. Occasionally, you even see a road sentry, mounted knights with the exclusive task of patrolling the roads. While much of the infrastructure seems to have fallen to a slight state of disuse, the province is still one of immense imperial efficiency. The roads here are so safe it spawned one of the most famous phrases of the Pax Mithdosica. The Pax Mithdosica is being able to walk from Flamium to Marsonia with a golden plate atop your head and being safe from banditry. It's not true anymore, but when it was, Sisatlia was a large contributor to why that phrase was so vaunted. But as the first day of travel carries on, it begins to get late, and it's clear you're going to need to find a place to stay. So Tullius seems to, rouse from his deep meditation and focus and begin to look along the roadside. Eventually, at a bar a roadside tavern that looks almost the exact same as all the other ones you passed along this road. Tullius sort of wraps the driver's seat and says, "Stop here. We're going to stay here for tonight." And the carriage driver obliges, traveling off the main road. And as you guys are moving off the main road, Tullius looks towards you. "We're gonna get some practice in."
Practice?
Yeah. It's always good to be training.
All right.
Here, he reaches into a satchel beneath his feet and produces a disguise kit and says, "I am an older bard traveling the countryside named Agrippa. You're my young apprentice. I want to get the lay of the land here, where we've just passed into Transatlia after we crossed that bridge about an hour ago, so I'd like to hear what the local rumors are, get myself acquainted with them."
What would a young apprentice do for a bard?
String his lute. Can't think of much more beyond that. It's all right. Just talk to the locals. Ingratiate yourself amongst them. You want to hear anything strange. And the pair of you guys, with Tullius's disgustingly high disguise kit check, can very quickly change into more common clothes. He wears a cloak of multicolored cloth. It's like a bit of red, green, yellow, just all the primary colors. Green is not a primary color, but you get the idea. Very bright colors along the cloak to make him stand out by quite a bit. Even his sort of demeanor changes a little bit, and he tells the butler to stay with the carriage. And as you guys approach the entrance of the roadside tavern, you can hear the sounds inside, and he says, "All right, here we go." And he enters into the bar, and instantly a couple gaze draw, and he says, "Fair people of Transatlia, any of you like to pay for me a drink? I have stories to tell you all." And 3 or 4 people seem to oblige him on that. And he will quickly find himself seated at a table with a couple of other people and gesture for you to sit down. he seems the first thing he says as he sits down and says, "The state of the Empire these days, a sorry thing, isn't it?" And a couple of the other people at the table say, "Oh yeah, here's how far that goes." And he says, "Oh, and this Emperor, I remember my father's day. Aurelian Varsol never would have let everything that's happening happen. He would have called down divine lightning on them, shook them from the earth." They all sort of look at him, sort of prepared for a bard story. And he'll talk about how Aurelian Varsol, smited enemies and killed the clergy in the Light Wars and brought peace to the Empire, and everyone will sort of raise up their glasses. At no point during the evening does Tullius and his guys as Agrippa ever reach for a lute. You're not even sure if he can play one. Instead, he mostly tells stories, and almost everything he's saying is treason. Like, it's pretty fucking wild.
I feel like that's what he's going for.
Yeah, he badmouths the Empire constantly. He speaks openly of heresy and talks about the legions like probably gonna lose in the war on the plains, and who knows, maybe those barbarians will come to the heart of the Empire. Well, do you contribute at all during the evening, or are you just sort of like a wallflower listening to Yes.
I'll add in, don't get him started on the battle against the Deadwood.
Okay. Yeah, you can hop into that as well, and the people here are remarkably like simple, but not in like kind of a demeaning way. Basically, if you start criticizing the Empire, they'll join in. If you say positive things, they'll be like, yeah, that's true. Actually, they just seem to be interested in like a lively conversation and an interesting time. As the evening carries on, at about the sort of later point, it's starting to get decently late, and Tullius would stand up and say, "Well, fair people of this small little prancing pony bar, I would like to just express my desire that you are all intelligent people, and based on the amount of coin in my pocket, you are quite discerning in your taste. I have entertained the finest, but I must dismiss myself for the evening. Maybe tomorrow I will return." And there's sort of groans like, "No, you can't end yet." And he says, No, I must, but thank you, fair people." And he walks to the bar. The bartender just sort of waves him off, and the room will be free due to the entertainment he's provided to the patrons tonight. And you climb the stairs, heading towards essentially a supply closet with two bunk beds stacked in it. And once the sounds of the bar beneath you are muffled, he takes off the hat and says, "Good heavens. Did you see that back there? Look at the state of our nation."
They were cheering along.
In my younger days, I would have had each and every person in that bar crucified. Those were the golden days, though. Peace, so there was no need for concern. In those days, if a man spoke of his son dying in the East, he was an alarmist, should be tortured, taught the proper way of things. But now, it becomes even harder to distinguish. Even the treasons and heresies of the common people have become, well, all too common.
You think something will come of it?
Oh, I think if we continue to lose in the East, these rumors will only grow more powerful. I can't burn half the country to death. I can't crucify everyone. We have a country we need to rule over. Well, at least we know the spirit of those in Transatlia.
It's unfortunate.
And he'll lay down. He doesn't sleep. In fact, you've never seen Tullius sleep for more than like 2 or 3 hours at a time. He just lays in the bed and seems to be thinking.
Okay. On the other hand, I will go to sleep.
All right. The following morning, you guys awake, and no one's drinking at the tavern. This are quite early in the morning, and you can slip out. Your butler seems to have slept in the carriage, which he doesn't seem to have any ill will about, and he will join you guys back on the road, traveling towards Parla. You continue southward, the carriage rattling through Transatlia. It reminds you a lot of you've been to Transatlia before, but where you were was the far, far south, the part bordering Deadwood. Up here in northern Transatlia, it's a lot less rugged. It's a lot more flat countryside, though in the distance you can see the foothills and mountains of the Atlian Range. But you continue onward for several hours, and then you reach a crossroads. There's a cobblestone imperial road and then one headed south, and the carriage comes to a halt when Tullius wraps the side, and he says, "Well, Parla is about 8 miles to the south. I think I'll be going there on foot. This carriage will take you the rest of the way to Arpeggio. When you're done, or if you desperately need to talk to me, make your way to the Church of the Flaming Sepulchre and ask for Xavier.
Okay.
I hope you find answers.
Me too.
He gives you a hug and a kiss on the forehead, and then he gets out of the carriage, and you see he's like basically changing his outfit as he walks. He is a remarkably slippery individual. You have no idea if like someone was trying to hunt him, how the fuck they ever would, because he's changing his clothing constantly, his appearance. You watch as he like he's reaching up to actually cut his hair. He always wears a short cut, but he's going full ball as he's walking down the road away from you. And then the carriage rattles onward. It's just you and Het Hagal now.
And the carriage driver guy.
And the carriage. And well, yeah, but he's driving the carriage. He's not in the carriage with you. And you guys begin to rattle across the Imperial Road into the foothills. The driver stops. And you glance out the side of the carriage. And you can sort of see, it's a hard angle because you're inside the carriage looking outward, but you change seats and look, and you can see across ahead of you was once a bridge. The river that flowed underneath the bridge has flooded pretty substantially. The banks of the water look significantly higher than they once were, and you can see the remnants of a wooden bridge that has been annihilated by the aggressively flowing water. And the butler you can hear the sound of him leaping from the carriage to the ground, and he'll walk over towards the window that you were glancing out of and say, Lord Zednius, we could attempt to wait for other travelers, maybe ford the river, or we can go around.
How much further is it, do we think?
Arpeggio? Based on the instructions from Lord Tullius, I believe it to be another 10 miles.
That'd take quite a while.
I don't know where the next crossing is. We can certainly look for it, though.
Let's. And real quick, what was the building Tullius said?
The Church of the Flaming Sepulchre.
Okay.
I think Tullius, he's pretty familiar with the religious structure of the Empire, so he would know that that is not going to be your standard church. That is going to be an Inquisitor's headquarters.
Oh, interesting.
Inquisitors are like you guys, but they only deal with heresy and
right.
things like that. So they are like, and they're also tied to one particular location. Unlike you guys who just go like, you're basically the Judge Dreads of the Department of Faith.
Okay.
Yeah. So the carriage driver gets back into the driver's seat and begins to travel parallel to the river. The carriage rattles along for some time, and then, you cross a bridge. It's quite a while distant. In fact, or quite a ways distant. In fact, it's gonna slow you down. Maybe even you probably will have to spend the night up here in the foothills. But you find a wooden bridge, rattle across it, and looking out the window, that earthquake. So you're on the eastern edge of the mountains. Before, when the earthquake originally happened, you were on the western edge. The eastern edge seems to have been similarly devastated. You can see landslides which have taken with them thousands of trees that have just ripped through the foothills. Most of these valleys are relatively uninhabited. The foothills have never been a popular place for people to live due to the occasional monster which sometimes wanders down. Even though, they were all purged during the reign of Aurelian Dominus, but, some of them occasionally wandered down the mountains and kill some people. And then the cart shrieks to a halt. You hear the horses whinny. The driver shouts in surprise and rapidly raps on your passenger door.
What is it?
You glance out, and about 100 feet away, there's a bear which has wandered out into the road. It looks painfully starved, and as you can see, it's now like facing directly towards your carriage, eyeing your horses hungrily.
Well, let's deal with this.
The driver just sort of huddles, like hops down from the seat and huddles behind you.
I'll get out and get ready to... How far away is it?
100 feet, so it's within range of your Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, then I'll just shoot it twice.
Okay, hopefully you one-shot it. Now you're going to have to deal with a very angry bear. You're pretty high level, though. A 21 does hit.
And then...
Oh, Poor guy. Your first one strikes it in the shoulder. The bear roars. Second one hits it in the left eye, and there's this horrible sound of like tearing flesh as the left head side of the bear's head just splatters open from the inside from the blast strike. And then the bear just slumps dead on the road. The horses whinny one last time before beginning to calm down. And the carriage driver looks at your hand with wide eyes, the two bolts of energy having come out of your fingers.
Carry on then.
Yes, your lordship. And he slowly climbs back up into the driver's seat. The horses take their time navigating around the corpse of the bear. They still seem a bit skittish, but you guys pass around it. You guys continue onward. You pass through a valley between two large hills. There's a small little creek running down the valley, and there's a couple of residences, though they all look abandoned. There are maybe 12 sort of frontier houses that you pass. Every one of them has no people in them. And as you near the highest point of this valley, you find the carriage driver sort of slows down, and looking out the window, you can see an entire village, about 30 buildings that have been burned to the ground. There is further signs of the earthquake having, devastated this valley. Great rock falls, and the inferno probably started from the earthquake, if you had to guess. But that's not your problem. You're here for one town in particular. So the carriage continues onward. No survivors come out to greet you or ask for help or anything like that. And you pass up from this valley down into a more flat plain. It's about 8 miles of flat terrain, about a mile of flat terrain before we reach the Atlian Mountains. And in this sort of valley between hills and mountain, there is a town. And the carriage driver says, "Your lord, that's Arpegia, from what I can tell. The signage has been destroyed, but I'm quite certain it's the same."
All right.
You can look out your carriage window as you approach the village. It was once probably a prospering agricultural center, though about half the city's farms were destroyed by a landslide. The other quarter were drowned in a flooding river, which is still, massively overflowing at its banks. You can see puddles of water the size of, a carriage or even larger, still sitting in places around the town. When that flood came, it was definitely a lot more than where it's currently at. And the majority of the people in the town seem to be dedicated to fixing things. There's a large lumber mill beside the river that has been totally flooded, and a large number of people seem to be replacing boards and trying to just recover from the disaster that struck the town.
I'll go in and start looking around for my guy.
When the carriage arrives, it'll draw a lot of gazes. It has the Imperial seal on it, so as the carriage comes to a halt, there will already be a crowd of 4 or 5 people, and one of them will say, "Go fetch the Quaestor!" And the one who said it, as you climb out of the car, will say, "Your Imperial Lordship, have you come to help with the relief?"
Not quite.
Oh. What are
Perhaps
you here for, then?
Well, I'm looking for... I've heard word of a hermit around this area. I need to speak with him.
A hermit?
You don't know of him?
Perhaps the Quaestor could help you more, your lord.
Oh, of course.
And they'll sort of wait. The crowd will wait around for a few moments, just looking at you and the cart and Master Servant. Probably the first time they've seen any of those things.
So what kind of aid does it look like they need? Just like rebuilding the city?
Yeah. The town has been flooded, hit by a landslide, a couple of fires on some farmhouses, just natural disaster stuff. And then the crowd will part and a Quaestor will come through. He wears robes with a sash of purple across them, though he looks exhausted. He's probably been awake for several days at this point. But as you approach, he'll do his due diligence and give a bow. He doesn't know who you are in the Imperial family, so he just gives himself the greatest bet and treats you like the Emperor. He says, "Your Imperial Lordship, we don't get many visits to our small little town. Let's go for a walk. No need for you to languish here amongst the common folk." And he walks away from the growing crowd of laborers, says, "You all should be working anyways."
Let's go.
Yeah, you guys can begin to walk along the road, and he'll gesture towards your carriage driver. "You can park that at my estate." And he points towards a slightly larger farmhouse on a hill that seems mostly undestroyed, and your butler looks towards you for approval. The cart begins to rattle away, and the Quaestor continues. So, what brings you to Arpasia? I'm not foolish enough to believe it's our plight.
There's a man I'm looking for.
All right. Do you have any more details?
Not from around here.
Not from around.
Probably older, more of a bookish type.
Ah. Bookish type, older, and not from around here. I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah?
Yes. Marcus. He came about 3 months ago, just before the winter hit, and he assisted our lumberyard with making a new pulley system. Folks around here have called him an engineer, but he claims that he has no formal education. I think he's lying.
And what does he look like?
I can just introduce you to him. Or do you think that'll frighten him? Is he some sort of criminal?
It's none of your concern.
I'm sorry. I overstepped. Yes, he is, and he'll give you a physical description. He's about 5'6". As you said, he's an older man. It was a pretty good guesstimate.
So he would have seen me come in. If we came in the carriage.
There's a lot of people.
News has gotten around that
probably
the jig is up. Like I can't say I'm not who I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's about 5'6". He has a large beard that's like unkempt, black hair. But the most important fact is that he wears traveler's clothes, which are distinguishable in the sense that they are like leather boots. He has a sort of sash on his shoulder, like he's ready to pick up and leave at any moment. Most other people, in the town aren't dressed anything like that. Last I'd heard, he's at the lumber mill, helping the owner repair.
All right.
Would you like me to introduce you to him, or if it's none of my business, I can let you handle this on your own?
Please.
All right. And you guys will begin to walk. You'll draw gazes wherever you go. People interrupt their repairs. Beyond just the building destruction, you can also see bodies amongst the rubble of a couple of buildings.
Did Tullius ever tell me the hermit's real name?
I
don't think he did.
He would have if you had asked. The real name is let me find it. It's somewhere in here. Here it is. Tertius Vernius Severius.
Perseus, okay.
Yeah, Tertius. All right. He will guide you through the ruins of the village. As you approach the lumberyard, you can see this has been a big focused effort to repair. There are about 40 men replacing boards and trying to get it back up to functioning, and there seems to be 2 men guiding the whole operation. Both of them are standing at a table. One of them looks to be a wealthy man, honestly not dissimilar to the Quaestor. He doesn't have the purple slash, but he's clearly a wealthy, maybe even low-ranking noble. But the man beside him has a large beard, seems to be basically the one actually like leading the organization. You can see diagrams on the table in front of him, a sash over his shoulder, and the Quaestor will sort of clear his throat as he approaches. The rich man and the engineer, Marcus, supposedly, will turn around, both of whom will give a bow, and the Quaestor will say, "This is a colleague from the Imperial family. You want to be introduced, see how the village is holding up due to the earthquake. This here is Gaius Octavius. He's a local merchant. He's a boon for our town. And this here is his chief engineer, Marcus." Both men will, extend their hands separately to shake yours.
Let's go for a walk.
Marcus looks a little bit nervous, and he looks towards the merchant and the Quaestor. The Quaestor shrugs, and the merchant nods. Roll me a deception check.
A deception?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, Marcus begins to follow you.
All right.
You guys walk in away from the lumberyard.
You know why you're alive, Tertius?
He looks towards you. I'm Marcus, sir.
Because we believe you can help me.
Marcus, son of Antonius, sir. You have me confused.
I don't believe I do, Tertius. I need your help.
I don't know that name. I'm just an engineer.
All right, I gotta double check this.
I mean, what is Yogi feeling?
I'm like 50-50. I don't know.
Okay,
I
well,
feel
then
like
I think
I feel
Zednius
like
is
I just gotta
50-50 too,
keep
because
pushing
10's pretty
him.
bad.
Yeah, I feel like I gotta keep pushing him. Tertius Vernius Servius, wanted for treason.
Marcus looks around at the, there's no one around you, and he sort of whispers under his breath and says, "I'm not a traitor."
That's not the way the law sees it. Scholar
That
of Elven
paper
lore
was incredibly
spouting
exploratory. I didn't even
treasonous
make any
theories.
strong claims. It was simply scientific observation. Science can't be treasonous.
Of course. But what I said is true. We've known where you are the whole time. You're only alive because we believe you can help me and my friend.
With what?
Well, you're very knowledgeable on Elven lore and have any theories. I'm gonna see if Hagal wants to go uninvisible.
Yeah, you could sort of see through Hedhagal's
How
eyes.
far
to
away
see-
are we from town?
Yeah,
first of
exactly.
all?
Hedhagal very aggressively looks at the surrounding area, but you guys have actually gotten pretty good distance. You're like 500 feet away from the nearest person. Hedhagal looks around to make sure there's no eyes lingering on you. The Quaestor is sort of looking at the two of you guys. He seems to be interested in where the conversation is leading.
No, he needs to F off.
He's like
Quaestor has
500
to
feet
leave.
away. Yeah, he's distant
Okay.
away, but he's still looking at the two
Okay.
of you. He noticed a little ink
Well, then we
splotch
gotta
appeared on your
keep
shoulder.
walking until
Yeah.
we're out of eyesight.
Yeah, the pair of you keep walking in silence. Marcus doesn't seem inclined to ask you any questions, so he just silently follows you until you guys enter a sort of area of light woodland, and then Hedhagal appears on your shoulder. It's been a long time since you've seen Hedhagal, like a really long time, probably years. And he looks a little bit different than the last time you saw him. He has this inky little black shape, has small vestigial wings and stubby little legs, which he seems to be like half standing on your shoulder with, though there's not much structure to them. And Tertius sort of looks at it and his eyes go wide, and he seems to be holding back a gasp.
His name's Hagal.
What is it?
It's my familiar.
That's this very strange familiar.
He speaks of elven prophecies.
Hedhagal begins to speak. He says... I opened up the wrong thing. One sec.
Oh no.
Oh no. He says, "Electrum shavings, 100 dragons, platinum rod, 400 dragons." Then he recedes into a puddle on your shoulder, and Tertius looks towards it and then towards you.
What do you make of that?
Did you make him do that?
He did it on his own.
This is all highly irregular. That is, those are the components for a ritual.
What kind of ritual? Summoning?
Platinum rod. Electrum shavings. Crossing the boundary between planes. So, summoning, I suppose you could call it, though that feels a bit mundane.
Traveling among planes?
No, bringing something here. It wouldn't be strong enough to teleport you somewhere else. For that, you'd need something stronger than Electrum shavings.
And
Are
you don't
really
know
with
what...
the Imperial family?
Of course.
And they know about this.
Some. Select few.
When I was at the symposium in Parla, I took a fair number of glimpses into, I suppose what you could call the realm of souls, the realm of the divine, whatever you want to call it. I would say that this creature here does not resemble any angels of Aurelian soul that I viewed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to presume. I feel as if I've offended you.
I just don't know where you're going with that.
I'm just saying, I don't know, it just seems odd. Serving the Emperor with a thing like that on his shoulder.
So, do you know anything about what he could be?
Certainly. He sits down on a log. I am of the belief that there is no immutable God. There is no true canon granted to us. In the University of Parla, there was an object named the Eye of Truth. It allowed one to briefly glimpse into the realm of souls for about 6 seconds. It exhibited severe mental strain, but it could be positioned in a way almost like a telescope, allowing you to see at different limited portions into the immaterium. I did extensive experiments on it, almost 2 years of effort. I had research assistants. It was all above board. And what I found is that creatures like that on your shoulder, and even the gods, they are not some heavenly instruments which rule over us benevolently. They are created from our belief. Their power is directly proportional to how much they are worshipped. If a man believes that his cat is a saber-toothed tiger, it'll do nothing. If 10 million people believe it, if the whole Dojan Empire believes it, that could change. Not here, but in the immaterium. And it is at the intersection of the immaterium and us where divine magic and all of its subsequent parts come from. That little thing on your shoulder, it's some shard of that, some long-forgotten thing that no one still worships but remembers his days of being mighty. And a growl comes from Hetagal. You've never heard Hetagal growl before. You've heard him hiss and other noises, but he growls like a fucking, angry dog. And Tertius sort of, recoils a little bit and says, not to say that he's not still mighty, just to say that most likely a shard of what he once was.
And Hagagal seems angry at this still.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to like that description of himself.
He speaks of a place called thing. I don't know. He says the word Kalamrasa.
Blade of Stars. Elvish.
What? Sorry, you cut out.
Blade of Stars in Elvish.
What do you know about the Blade of Stars?
I don't know. I mean, I can just translate it. I don't actually know what it means.
You don't know? It's not some elvish legend that you'd know about?
Not one that I've heard of, no.
So the more people believe in something, the stronger it is, you believe? That's your theory?
That is what my research lended me.
And this is true of not only Aurelian Soul, but
everything.
All the pantheons.
It sort of explains why every pantheon claims to be the only one. If your worshippers started to worship other ones, well, then your power would proportionally decrease and theirs would equalize. But if you can convince your worshippers that all else is equal and you are the only one that exists, then they'll only worship you. It's the only way to, in my mind, to explain the fact that
and if no one worships
has priests,
then they'll fade from existence forever?
That is where my research was unfortunately cut off by the visiting of a certain cleric from the Department of Faith. My belief is that that even for example, the ancient elven gods ruled over an empire which straddled the entire globe. They were worshipped by every living thing for who knows how long. That imprint they left on the immaterium should still remain. They'd be shadows of their former selves, but they would still be out there. What I can't explain is why there's so few of them. I have a couple of candidates I believe to be former elven gods. The Jade Lady is an obvious one. Perhaps Aurelian Soul could be one. But there should be more. They worshipped hundreds of gods. But I didn't quite resolve that hole in my theory. But no, I don't think they simply disappear. I believe they leave shadows. Little dark bits left over.
Do these gods war in this spiritual realm?
Oh, most certainly. I saw the most beautiful light show over western Valeros. I investigated heavily to see what it corresponded with, and it had to do with the collapse of the Dawi Empire in the west. When their mountains were collapsing and a religious civil war raged amongst themselves, the realm of souls was a terrible thunderstorm, lightnings of different colors. It was it was beautiful. Though, if you were actually in the realm of souls rather than just observing, it would be a hellish nightmare. Great winds strong enough to throw you off your feet, lightning raining down from the heavens, killing a man in a single blow. I believe the tumult of this world transfers into the next.
So how would I help Het Hagal here out?
Well,
It seems he's...
I don't know what that ritual's for, but probably start with that.
A platinum rod and electrum shavings. What about the golden dragons he mentioned?
Current's 100 gold worth of electrum shavings, 400 gold worth of platinum rod. His name is Avenging Angel. Worth knowing. In Elvish. I suppose Avenging Spirit would be more accurate. Angel is a modern phrase. They did not have such a thing in the Elven Empire. He would be, if we were going for the literal translation, he thinks for a moment. I suppose you could call it Flaming Avenger. That'd probably be the best, the most accurate translation.
Flaming?
Flaming, yes.
Interesting.
Het Hagal seems satisfied. he's like
I look over and I
reformed
can't
himself.
imagine. I look over and say, "Can't imagine you liking fire much."
He hisses at you. If there's anything else I could help you with for my life to be spared, I'd be more than happy to. My research wasn't meant to undermine the Empire. I love the Emperor. I love everything he provided me. I just have some questions about the Varusian Creed, that's all.
Well, I'm not sure.
Het Hagal rolls off your shoulder. And then man sort of looks at his feet and then looks at his thigh and begins to try to move away, swatting at his chest until, you hear a voice come out and it says, "Potential." The man looks at his spot on his chest, looks up at you. What do I do?
Potential.
What do I do? Do I just let it?
Yes.
Okay.
And Hagal's just crawling on him.
Yeah, you can see the impression on the clothing. Het Hagal is rolled up onto his shoulder.
Okay. He's up on his shoulder, in a friendly way?
Yeah.
Okay. Part of me is afraid that, when he says potential, it means I should devour their soul, but I'm not sure, so...
The sadness of him not being able to properly communicate.
Yeah. But if he's acting friendly towards him, I'll leave it.
Tertia seems to be looking at you.
Well, he seems to like you. That's a good sign.
Yes, it seems like that.
All right. I've got no further questions, but...
Well, what should I do? Should I leave the village? Is it still safe here for me?
You'll be coming with me.
Where?
To be decided.
Yeah, he thinks for a moment. He looks at you.
As long as you remain useful and
waist.
Hagal likes you, you've got nothing to worry.
He slowly nods and stands up. All right. All right. And he begins to follow behind you. Where are you taking him?
When did Tolia say he was going to get back to me? We don't know.
He said if you needed to talk to him or when you were done, you could head to the...
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll get in the carriage and leave.
Okay, yeah. You guys are going to be riding through the night if you do that. I don't know if you care. It's just the butler.
Yeah, I don't necessarily trust him not to leak something with all these people that he knows, so we have to go.
All right, you head to the Quaester's home. Your butler seems to have been inside getting a meal, but he, once he sees you out the window, he'll come out. The Quaester greets you, and Marcus says, "Well, seems as if your business was fortuitous. You won't be taking your engineer, will you?"
Yes, he's coming with me.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, Marcus, we appreciate the work you did on the lumber mill. And Marcus nods and says, "I wish you the best of luck, friend." And he has sort of a smirk on his face, a bit of a superior attitude. And Marcus will get inside the carriage. You can sit across from him. Hetagal will roll back onto your shoulder, and the carriage driver will begin to rattle out of Arpegia. It's an awkward trip.
Yeah. Well, ask him sort of what kind of things did he like to do when he was a scholar, when he was doing his theories. Was he more of a shut-in that just studied and wrote his theories out, or what kind of things did he do?
Yeah, he had 2 research assistants given to him by the Symposium of Parla as he began his research into this, and he essentially spent every waking hour either looking through the Eye of Truth or recovering from it, because, like, mechanically, he took 1 point of psychic damage every time he looked through the eye, so he needed to spend almost like...
And that's in Parla? Where is that?
Yeah, in the Symposium of Parla. And needed to spend almost half his time just like resting, recovering, seeing doctors. He'd constantly have nosebleeds. He was incredibly sickly during the course of his research, but, you know, he's obsessive, so he didn't really care.
Yeah, but he's not like a guy that goes out and parties a ton. And
No, not at all. For those 2 years, he basically only did research or
he's
was
very
recovering
focused
from
on
injuries.
his research. Yeah. Sort of single-minded. That's yeah, that's good. Can we take like a 5-minute break?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, and we are back. So, you're on a carriage ride to Parla with a man whom Steve kidnapped. Well, I mean, kind of. Yeah, well, I was going to say maybe not, but no, yeah, you kidnapped this guy. Such is the way of life, you know? Sometimes you just got to kidnap some heretics. All right.
That's fine.
So, one sec. All right, there we go. So, traveling on to Parla. It's not a swift journey by any means, but it's not your problem. You can just sleep when you get tired. The carriage driver is the one who has to ride through the night across a heavily engorged river and find a bridge that's safe. That's not your problem. And you begin to approach the walls of Parla. It's a pretty large city. It's on par with Ravinium, nowhere near Mythos. And it is bustling with activity. Farmers going to market to buy shit. It's the dead of winter, so some of them are getting some extra food to mark their storage. And most people are just staying inside and staying warm. Some of the productivity jobs, like laborers who do cloth or textiles or things like that, are busy, but most of the city is indoors. And where are you headed as you approach the great city of Parla?
Pretty much straight to the Church of the Flaming Sepulchre.
Yeah. You can ask a local around for directions. Your butler will have to because he doesn't actually know what it is. But you'll be pointed towards not a single church, but a sprawling complex located on the eastern edge of the city. It's on a hill alongside several other temples, which is called the Temple District, rather unimaginatively. And approaching the sort of cobblestone road leading upward, there are 3 separate places where you have to show the fact that you are a judge before they will let you through. The first is just town guards. The next is gubernatorial assigned to guards. And then the last are guards of the Department of Faith. But all 3 will let you through, and you can enter into the central administration building for the Church of the Flaming Sepulchre. Are you taking in Tertius with you, or are you leaving him with the cart outside of the rotunda?
Okay. He's not leaving the carriage.
Okay, then your butler alongside a guard who you can just tell to, hey, keep that door closed. So a guard and your butler will secure the carriage as you climb up the steps into the central administrative building of the Church of the Flaming Sepulchre.
All right. I'll look for a clerk of some sort.
Yeah, there's a clerk sitting behind a desk. She has bandages over her mouth, which you know
over her mouth.
Yeah, she's someone who's taken a vow of silence.
Oh, okay. But
she looks up towards you.
Is she gonna point to me? Point somewhere?
She looks up towards you expectantly as you approach.
Looking for Xavier.
She nods and then writes something down on a slip of paper, stands up, and then walks away. She does not gesture for you to follow her.
What does it say on the paper?
She's holding it like in her hand. I mean.
Oh, I'm walking with her then.
Oh, you're just following her? Okay, as you begin to follow her, she looks back and then shakes her head.
Oh, okay. I stand still.
She walks away. You wait for a while, like 15 minutes. And then a man in red robes, golden robes, comes back out from sort of a side entrance, and he gives a bow and says, "Lord Judge, how can I help you?"
Who's this?
It's just a man in golden robes who's come out of one of the side entrances.
I'm looking for Xavier.
Can I ask why?
He told me to come request him.
He's working right now.
All right.
I suppose, you can wait outside of his chambers. All right. I'm Father Volsion, by the way. It's a pleasure to meet you.
And these guys are Inquisitors?
This one, in his golden robe, your guess is that he's just a cleric. He has glowing golden eyes and golden robes, so he's probably not an Inquisitor.
Okay. I will chill, waiting.
Yeah, no, sorry. He's gesturing for you to follow him to just outside the work chamber.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys go through a side entrance and begin to descend from street level down a series of dank stairs. And I think it's once you're like 3/4 way down the stairs, you realize, oh, fuck, we're going to the dungeons. And there's going to be some probably horrible shit here since it's an inquisitorial complex. And
I'm going to leave Het I'm gonna tell Het to go back to the carriage.
Okay. He'll roll off your shoulder and out. As you finish descending the steps, and you hear your first scream, which echoes through the tunnels. The man in front of you does not seem fazed by this at all. And he leads you through what looks to have once been catacombs where you'd place the bodies of saints or other like venerated individuals, but has been retrofitted into the sort of nexus, the center of this torture complex. There are several men off duty. There are a sort of list of who exactly is in jail and for what crime. And then there's a list of torture methods that are allowed to be used on them. Your eyes sort of drift to that list as you're walking through the room, and you recognize 3 different names. Yeah, there's Centurion Corvinus, Primus Pilus Matani, and Consul Militum. All 3 of them are in these dungeons.
Oh.
Yeah. And the man who's escorting you, Father.
Say the 3. I heard
Centurion Corvinus.
Who was
Pilus Matani.
Was Centurion Corvinus that wasn't the guy we killed? Or
Centurion Corvinus is the guy who had your blades blessed by Rais prior to the battle. And last you'd heard, he died at the Battle of Fort Romulus.
We thought he died at the battle. Matani was supposedly given a promotion.
Yep, that's the last thing you heard. The last thing you heard was the Consul Militum had stepped down. I mean, you were there for his arrest, and the Primus Pilus was going to become the new leader of the Southern Legion.
And then the last name?
The Consul Militum himself.
Oh. Interesting. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, you're led through a final corridor, and then there's several benches beside an iron door, which has dried blood along the exterior of the doorframe. The father gestures towards one of the benches.
I'll go try to get as comfortable as I can.
Yeah, you're pretty sure these are designed to be uncomfortable. There's no place that you can sit that is comfortable. There's straight wooden edges, so no matter where you are, the wood's digging into you. You're pretty sure this is actually designed as like an additional form of torture for victims to have to sit here and wait their turn to be tortured. But you can hear screams from inside the room. Full body throated screams, sizzling. It is, I mean, you're hearing someone be actively tortured. It's a horrible, horrible thing. But the father seems totally unfazed. He's sort of like putting his weight from foot to foot, just sort of waiting. And he says, "So, I must admit it's highly unusual for one of our torturers to have a guest. How do you know Xavier?"
Do you usually hang out down here?
Well, I mean, it's my place of work.
Oh.
The 2 of you guys hang out for a bit.
Yep.
And eventually the door opens, and you see Polius. He's bald. He wears a smock, like a sort of butcher's apron across his chest, which is splattered with blood. He has common clothes on, leather gloves on his hands.
When did he come out of? Or was the door of all 3?
I came out of the door with the screaming.
Which was who?
You don't know. You don't know who's inside the cell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he closes
the door
behind
him. 3 doors
him.
named with the 3 people?
No. There was a list. There was lists of who was imprisoned in this dungeon when you're walking through the sort of like
so I don't
office.
know who was actually in there. Can I make a perception check to see who's screaming?
Sure. You can try to glance around. Roll a perception check to recognize the voice of the man being tortured. Based.
Well,
no, you don't recognize it. But Xavier exits the room, closes the door behind him. He seems focused on on something in his hands, and you recognize it to be a corkscrew. And there's a little bit of fleshy matter that looks like brain on the end of it. And then Xavier glances up, sees the father, sees you. His expression remains this hard, sort of like totally emotionless fucking vacuum, and he says, "Yes."
The matter's been attended to, Xavier.
Looks towards you, says, "Oh, well, that's good. Father Phocion, could you give us a moment?" Father nods and exits the hall. After he finishes stepping out, Xavier's expression softens significantly, gives you a smile, and says, "Well, did you get the information you were hoping for?"
Not quite.
That's unfortunate. Well, I'm going to deal with him then, I assume.
Well, I think he might still be able to help me. Does he need to be taken care of?
At
Is
some
it
point,
a
yes.
necessity?
Yes. He's on a list written by, let's say, a very important individual. But, like I said, it's on the back burner. It doesn't have to happen now. What else do you think you can get from him?
Well, his research was somewhat interesting. If we dedicated his research onto this, maybe he could figure some more things out.
We certainly cannot allow that research to continue. It directly violates the Varusian Creed. Where
You don't
is he
think it
now?
would help us at all? He's in the carriage.
Oh, well, that's perfect. We can get this done quickly. What information did you get from him? Anything actionable?
Just the translation of some names and sort of what he wants us to do.
He wants something from us.
No, Hegal.
Hetagal.
Apparently translates to the Flaming Avenger.
Wow. What does Hetagal want from us, then?
Components.
For a spell?
I believe so.
I could acquire those.
You would?
Certainly, if you think it'll assist you.
Yes.
Well, what are they?
What were the exact Golden Dragon numbers again?
100 gold of Electrum shavings, 400 gold of platinum rod.
100 gold worth of Electrum shavings and 100 gold worth of a platinum rod.
That's doable, certainly. How about this? You bring your, the holy man. What was his name? Tertius. You bring Tertius down here to the dungeons. I'll have him dealt with. And I'll be back in Tortio post-day in about a week with those materials.
All right.
Wonderful. It's good seeing you. Now, I'm just letting him stew in there, and I think I need to finish it up quite quickly. It was remarkably hard to break. Pats you on the shoulder. Says,
All right.
Father Sion. And his whole, like, again, his face just goes totally fucking, like, slack-jawed, emotionless. He has those fucking, like, shark eyes where it's just like, there's no emotion, just, like, fucking murder. And Father Volsion comes into the hall and says, I assume you're done, Xavier? Yes, sir. And he opens up the door, heads back to the room, and you hear, like, a preemptive sort of moan of pain, even before he's done anything. And then the door closes, and Father Volsion says, well, I believe I'll bring you back upstairs then. I hope your meeting was fortuitous, Lord Judge.
Yes. All right.
And he will guide you back up the steps into the clerk's office. There's one final scream as you exit the dungeon, and then you find yourself back in that central chamber with the clerk, and Father Volsion says, well, is there anything else you need assistance on during your time in the Church of the Flaming Sepulchre?
If you could, I'm going to bring someone back here. If you could just make it easy for us.
Are they being detained, or?
Believe so.
Ah, wonderful. And he snaps his fingers towards two temple guards. They are just essentially well-armed soldiers that are employed by the Department of Faith. And they come over to him and he says, I assume this individual is somewhere in the city.
Oh, I know where he is. I just need... He'll come willingly. Just let me come through. Is that okay?
That's quite all right.
All right. Return to the carriage.
Yeah, you head outside. The carriage is still parked in the rotunda. The guard that's standing beside the door is chatting with your butler. You can see through the glass that the man is still in there. And Hetagal is sitting atop the cart.
Okay. I'll open the carriage, get in.
Yep. He looks at you and says, Tertius looks at you and says, why are we here? I know this place.
Yes. I just had to tell. Anyways, I'm going to, out of character, I'm going to cast suggestion on him.
Okay.
I'm saying, quietly follow me until I leave you.
What's the save on that?
What's the save? It's got to be like charisma, wisdom save.
Wisdom. Okay. I think that's a fail. I'm gonna go out and
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. He'll. So,
Oh my gosh, my guy's got a -3.
I mean, there's a reason why he got caught doing such insanely, blatantly heretical research.
Okay.
He's very smart, but not very
doing
wise.
the illegal research in my
Exactly.
library. Then
Exactly. That would have been the smart thing. Getting research assistants to do illegal shit. Crazy. Yeah. He will nod and say, "Of course, sir."
all right,
His eyes
and
sort
then
of
we'll.
glaze over.
Yep.
Yep, he gets out of the carriage with you, walks along the steps. Funnily enough, Suggestion actually explicitly says they can't do things that'll harm themselves, but this is like, I think this is just like tertiary enough, not because you're not actually stabbing him or anything. You're just like, hey, follow me.
I'm not hurting him at all. I'm just
yeah, you're
leading
not
him
walking off a
somewhere.
cliff or anything. So yeah, he follows you, walks into the central area, the main chamber of the administration building. There it is, and Father Volcion will sort of trail you. And I assume you're walking into the dungeons, or?
Yep, we're walking straight to the
you
dungeons.
climb down the stairs, scream echoes upwards as you descend. And are you just like bringing him into the office and telling them to find an empty cell?
I thought I was bringing him straight to Xavier.
Oh,
No?
yeah, you can do that as well. Father Volcion will shadow you with the two men. You guys head into that hallway. The screams still echo from the room that Xavier went into. And Father Volcion just sort of idles out in the hallway. You and how long does Suggestion last for? 8 hours.
8 hours.
Okay. Yeah,
So
you
he
guys
just follows me until I told him until I leave him. So
you guys are just chilling.
Yep.
There's some waiting.
And I told him to be quiet so he can't.
Yeah. Screams echo through the hall. The iron door unlatches, and this time, since you're standing and not like sitting, before you're sitting like 90-degree parallel to the door so you couldn't see inside, but now you're standing with the guy and you can look inside and see the tortured body of Centurion Corvinus. His red beard has been shaved off. His head has been shaved bald. He's naked. And luckily the door closes before he can absorb anything else that has been inflicted on him. And Xavier looks at you, looks to your left. Our friend Tertius, I assume.
Yes.
Father Volcion, he'll need a cell. Put him in low security. I don't think he's of any risk to any of us. Father Volcion nods and says, "You should know, Xavier. This is highly irregular. We'll have to review this." Xavier nods. And Father Volcion takes Tertius by the arm. I think Tertius... I'm going to give him another save. I think this begins to slightly violate the orders. Just a little bit. Getting manhandled by someone else. Nope. Well. His eyes remain glazed over, and his arm gets grabbed, and he begins to get led through the dungeon out of sight. And once Father Volcion leaves, Xavier sees you and says, "Well, I'll see you in a week in Tortio Poste." Tertio? Wait, no, that's not right. Tortio Poste. There it is.
Where's Tortio Poste?
It's your estate west of Toronto.
Oh, it's my estate. He's going to see me in a week there?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be too much of me to ask what's going on with the Primus Pilus?
He's been indicted on treason, same as the rest of the leadership of the Southern Legions.
No, I figured he was the one getting promoted to lead them.
That's what we told him, so that he wouldn't raise his arms right there.
I see. So who's to lead the front now?
We found a suitable officer to take over. The former prefect, if you recognize him.
Oh. It's well, I hope that he learned a lot from his experience.
Oh, I'm sure he did. And we know he's loyal to the Empire.
Of course. All right. Well, I'll see you then.
He nods, and he seems to take a few moments to get back in character as Xavier before he heads back into the room. And you head up, back out through the dungeon onto the open streets of Parla. How does Zednius feel about that? What he just did?
I thought if I got to keep him around a little longer, I might have been able to get some more stuff out of him. But
Does Zednius think that Tertius is a bad man?
do I think he's a bad man? No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's probably right, but I also agree that those kinds of beliefs are harmful to the Empire.
And what about the Primus Pilus?
Well, it sucks that I saved him and now he's getting killed, but it must be for the good of the Empire.
You know he knew nothing about the planet Romulus. I mean, he got caught inside of the fort because,
But
you know.
he's not guaranteed to be loyal.
True.
Like the prefect. I mean, you have to be from the family, correct?
Yes, I mean, the prefect is the cousin of the Emperor, so yeah, he is going to be loyal, probably, yeah. All right. Well,
I mean, I'm a nepotism child. I feel like nepotism is just the way.
Okay. You head out to your cart, climb in. The butler will say, "Lord Zednius, where are we going?"
Back to the estate.
Yes, Lord. And we can, for the purposes of this, skip over the next week. In the next session, when we get back as a group, we can talk about what's going to happen with your guys' downtime and things like that, major activities you want to get done. But for our purposes of this session, we're going to skip over the next week. Okay. You will have gotten back to your estate on, let's do the math.
Would the heist take a full week?
What heist?
The secret heist.
The secret heist. That is so secret. I don't even remember. Oh, it's all coming back. Yeah, that could potentially take a week.
Okay.
Okay. I was going to say the secret heist, even I don't know about it. Okay. 23rd to 30th. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, though. I'm just going to mark this on my note that this is free time for you to do whatever you want. But you're going to have months of downtime, so I don't worry too much about like a week here, a week there. Okay.
Well, if I think I have enough time, I'm going to send Hegal now.
We'll cross the bridge when we come to it.
Okay.
So, a week passes. Tullius returns. He is in good spirits. He's getting greeted by you and your servants, and once you guys are in sort of private, he'll say, "Well, first of all," he reaches into a satchel and produces a small little baggie and a large platinum rod. "Your reagents, and secondly, I managed to just get 6 convictions in 3 days." It was a good, productive week. Yes, very much so.
Did you pull anything new out of the Tertius?
Oh, no, him I simply had executed. I've been much more focused on those southern officers. I can't tell you quite about that, but the point is that they were remarkably resilient in their innocence, but everyone always has a breaking point. Anyways, we have the reagents now.
We do.
Hattagal is on your shoulder and he speaks up. Private. Need time. He said private.
Oh. Did he hand them to me?
Yeah, you totally just want to hand them over.
Alright. Thank you, Father. It seems this spell will take some time.
Well, I'll be sticking around the estate for at least a couple days. I think I have 4 days off before I need to head over to Patricia, so just let me know.
Alright.
And where do you consider to be private?
Well, are there any rooms that I know of that don't have assistants all the time, coming through around and around all the time?
Yes, there's a chamber that normally stores excess furniture, but since the estate was so stripped down during the vacancy, it's literally just an empty room.
Or is the library big enough to have a study in, to like study and everything?
There is a table, like there's a desk for studying in the center of the room, but as you start to maybe think or go to the library, Hattagal will like shake his head. Like he'll basically no. that
is there like a cellar or something?
There is, yeah, there's a wine cellar.
Okay, let's go to the wine cellar.
Okay, you head down there. It's mostly empty. Again, with all the bankruptcy sale, there's a lot of room to expand here and get new rooms with new shit. And the wine cellar is almost entirely empty.
Do I feel any secret passages?
Do you feel? No, you do not feel any.
Throw back to the secession of Lawrence. graveyard.
Yeah, this is actually the exact same man. Actually, there's a fucking undead graveyard all around you. Yeah, the two of you guys head down there, Hetagal and you. And Hetagal will become visible. There he is, in all his little stubby-legged glory, with his little vestigial wings. He's kind of cute in like a gross, inbred sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
And then he rolls onto the bag with the electrum shavings in it and eats them. And then he rolls along the platinum rod, and despite this thing being literally 6 times bigger than him, he just rolls across it and it absorbs into him. And then he begins to dance in a ritualistic shape.
Oh man, I wish I could see it.
Yeah. He moves across the ground, his little stubby legs carrying him forward. Again, it is like very cute in a very like he's just such a gross, kind of cute little creature as he rolls across the ground and moves his legs and flaps his little wings. And then, after having traced the whole shape by his walking, the small little inky blob vomits. The vomit is of a silvery alloy, but if you had to guess, it's some sort of composition of electrum and some other metal. The process is slow going, and frankly, it looks really painful as a seemingly unending quantity of alloy spills forth from the small inky mass. The shape that Hetagal has formed is a triangle with 3 lines through the faces. Then, Hetagal approaches the center. He looks weary as he moves, and then he begins to float a couple of inches off the ground before a large platinum rod begins to emerge from his body, going upward. He has no discernible mouth, but it still looks like exceedingly painful for this thing to be ejected from him. The staff, though, is newly engraved. Every square inch of it is covered in elven inscription, most of it so small it'd require an elven magnifying glass to read. After the last little piece of the rod emerges, Hetagal splashes into a puddle on the ground and goes invisible. A single word drifts through the room. Tired.
You've done good.
Yeah,
Rest.
and there is now an incredibly complicated arcane glyph plus a floating rod. The rod remains floating like a couple inches above the ground in the center of this circle.
So what is the glyph?
Yeah, roll me an Arcana check.
Like a physical thing, or is it a symbol on the ground?
Physical,
or where?
Yeah, it's a physical thing. It's a line. It's a shape that's been placed on the ground with this vomited alloy. Okay, so 23. So first of all, there's the rod itself. That thing is covered in literally hundreds of tiny elven inscriptions. You can't read Elvish and you don't have a magnifying glass, so that's going to be something. And there's no arcane text anywhere on the central rod.
I mean, comprehend languages would help me get the literal wordings, right?
If you want to start grinding through it, I mean, there's a lot of shit there. The rod is it's as long as a quarterstaff, and every square inch of it is covered. The symbol. So the symbol, you don't recognize where it's from. It's a triangle with a line for each of its faces, but along the interior of the symbol, there is a bunch of arcane text, which with the 23 you'd recognize as all of the Conjuration School of Magic. And then there's another interior line. This one is not written in arcane text script. It's written in Elvish. And it's not that long. It's maybe a sentence or two.
Okay, then I'll burn a comprehend languages to know what that is.
Yeah. The Elvish reads, Callum Rasa, that is thy name. Within the land of Alvan Gardum, you have been called by your rightful master. Let your guardian come. You are mine.
Can I get a handout of that, or can you paste it?
Sure. Yeah, I can.
Okay. Alvan Gardum. Let your guardian come.
Hetagal is still in a puddle off in the edge of the glyph, and he says, Allies needed.
What did he say?
Allies needed?
Allies needed. For the land of Alvan Gardum? Does that Since it's text, does that translate for me?
That is a proper noun.
Okay. The land, Alvin Garden. And I assume this is for me.
Callum Rasa technically is not a proper noun. It means Blade of Stars,
Okay. Yeah. But that's also his name.
Yeah.
Let your guardian come. You are mine. Interesting. And the rod is still floating.
Yep, it's suspended about 3 inches above the ground.
If I reach out and touch it,
Yep.
grab it,
Yep.
pull it towards me.
Does not move. And Atagal hisses.
If I detect magic, is it like conjuration magic?
If you detect magic, you go blind for a second.
Oh.
It takes your eyes a moment to adjust with what you're looking at. In fact, I don't even think with the Arcana check it would really occur to you how magical this all was until the detect magic came through. This is a really, really high level ritual. Like, you will probably never be able to cast this. This is like 9th level, maybe above. It is something that is entirely unique, can only do this one function, and is tailor designed for it. And it is deafeningly, like, blindingly powerful. The School of Magic is conjuration, and everything in now the entire basement basically reeks of conjuration. You can't look anywhere without there being the blinding colored light of conjuration.
Well, now I'm concerned that this thing can't move. And the wine cellar is empty for now, but I don't know. I don't know how long this rod's going to be here, or this staff.
Unfortunately, Hetagal cannot answer your questions. That boy's sleeping.
He's tired. Yeah.
It's basically just in a very, very, very advanced summoning circle.
That's what this is?
Yeah.
Oh, so if I get everybody here, we can go to this land of Alvangardum, probably.
Probably not.
Oh.
So it's really, really hard. So to get things to the material plane, you just need their true name and then a very powerful spell. To get yourself to that plane requires, like, incredibly powerful magic. Not to say that this isn't powerful, it's just it typically is easier to bring things here than go to there.
Okay. Let my guardian come. Is it
Yeah, you know what?
Tolius?
23 plus detect magic, that's probably enough to let you know that the proper name of the thing you are summoning was given, Kalamrisa. Their location, Alvangardum, as well as a powerful magic enough to pierce the veil between the planes. So this is a summoning spell specifically for Kalamrisa, the Blade of Stars.
Let your guardian come. That could mean like 2 different things.
Yeah. You can think of 3. Got him.
You can think of 3? Oh no.
Yeah. Let your guardian come? Yeah, I can think of 3.
Oh yeah, let me go jerk off there.
No, you can't do that.
Interesting. The you or mine is also kind of like unnerving.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Little.
Well, I don't know what to do.
That's fine. You can just wait until Atagal wakes up. That boy's sleeping.
Yeah, I'll just wait.
Yeah, you spend the day enjoying time with Paulius. He's a lot more talkative.
Yeah, I'll comprehend languages the staff a little bit, but I am assuming it just is more stuff about
No, actually,
Kalamasa.
this is okay. I don't have it written out because it's just really long. It is a painfully accurate description of the physical location of your house. Like, it describes its exact proximity to the shore using a measurement called a cubit, which is like an imperially regulated number by the Mythosian Empire. It's like very strictly defined. It is so insanely, like, it's basically if you took a radial and sent 36 lines directly out from your property in all directions, he defines like different objects along those points. Like, it's about the most accurate description of a physical location of a thing you've ever read. Yeah, and it's given, like, it's long. It's like, you know, thousands and thousands of words describing the exact location of this wine cellar.
Okay.
Yeah. You can spend the day with Tullius. Henrigal will follow you around, but he is, like, clearly very out of it. In fact, I think you're celebrating. Yeah, you're celebrating Harvest Day with Tullius. It's Nairfrost 31st, which is the celebration of Harvest Day. So yeah, you're gonna celebrate a holiday with Tullius. You know, you start to feel like a real
no one's
family.
allowed in the wine cellar anymore.
That's fine. That's fine. He brings alcohol with him. He doesn't need your alcohol. However, the following day, Hatagal is feeling a little bit better. And he will flash you a mental image of the basement early in the morning. You know, your servant's still in your room, and Hatagal's sitting on the pillow beside you. And he flashes you a mental image of the basement, and he says, like, because he can't really speak in your mind, so instead he's just going to audibly say, while the servant is there, he just doesn't care. He says,
well, he can speak telepathically with me.
Okay, then he'll telepathically say to you, foes soon. Allies needed.
How soon?
He flashes a mental image of the basement. Speak, Idar. And then there's a mental image of a portal opening.
Speak, Idar?
Mm-hmm.
Speak, Idar. I have no idea what he said. I don't know what that means.
Speak, Idar.
Is that a language?
It sounds like a Symbolin or Elvish word.
Well, if it's Symbolin, I know what it is.
Yeah, so it sounds like an Elvish word.
Okay. I'm gonna ask Tullius. He might know Elvish.
Yeah, it'd be really useful to know that Tertius bozo. He seemed to speak Hetagal, not Elvish, just Hetagal. He seemed to understand his fucking ramblings. Yeah, you head downstairs and can find Tullius. He's out on the back porch. He seems to be looking out towards the ocean. He looks up at you and says, "Good morning, son."
Good morning. Do you know Elvish, perchance?
I know little bits in there.
What is speak, Idar?
Idar. It means open. Speak is common, but Idar means open. Why?
Hatagal's little ritual.
Sounds like when you say open, something will happen. Are we doing it today? Or is this something you need to do alone?
No. I'd like you to come.
All right, then. He'll stand up. And Hetagal will get on your shoulder and roll down. And you get the sense that he's mustering for something. Hetagal seems to be conserving his energy. He doesn't speak as you guys travel down into the basement. He's just pretty quiet. And then when you get to the basement, he gives you not just a mental flash like he normally does. He tries to give you a full-on fucking vision. What you see is a portal opening. Stepping through the portal is a stone golem, statue, whatever you want to call it. A sentient living stone creature, which takes out a weapon and then runs you through with it and you die. That is the vision that he gives you, and he seems very tired after giving it.
A stone golem? How large?
Huge sized. So its head will be basically pushing up the roof above it.
You think you could fight a stone golem, Father?
Tullius glances over. I suppose we could, but I'd rather get back if that's what we intend to do.
We should do that. We need some more allies.
Well, should be easy enough. There's an outpost down the road that has a Contubernii soldier stationed there. 7 men should be enough. Do you want me to go fetch them?
We can trust them with seeing this happen?
Of course not. We'll deal with them afterward.
All right. Yes.
All right. And he will exit the basement, begin to whistle a tune to himself. And it'll just be you and a very puddly, tired Hetagal. He's expended a lot of energy in the last couple days for you.
Yeah.
You hang out for maybe 30 minutes just inspecting the room. If you have to fight a golem in here, this basement's gonna get fucked. So do you want to, like... I assume you don't want to bring down a servant just because you'd have to explain some shit, but...
No, I'll just do my best to move the wine crates out of the way to like clear an open space?
Yeah, you move as much wine out as you can. It's a lot of shit to move, and servants will definitely give you a weird eye as like you're bringing wines out of the basement. When they ask for help, you say no. It's definitely an odd thing, but you don't care, and you can get probably 8 barrels out before your muscles just give up. You're not particularly strong.
Okay.
Antolius will return. You can hear him talking upstairs, and then the sound of his boots descending, and coming in with him will be 7 legionnaires. 2 of them look a bit more experienced, the rest look relatively fresh, and he'll say, "Well, this is what you have been conscripted for." And they look around the room, and some of them ooh and ah at the ritual circle, and he'll say, yes, save your excitement for later. There may be a fight on our hands, and you'll need to serve the Empire by serving as our front line. He gestures for them to form a shield wall between you guys and the ritual site. Tullius gives you a sort of knowing smile, though. It comes off as a little bit dark, because you're pretty sure all these people are about to die. Yeah. And then Tullius sort of looks at you expectantly.
Open.
All right. You speak Idar.
Idar, okay.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Open is the same shit. Doesn't matter. At the center of the great glyph placed on the floor, the rod floats. The elven script on the rod begins to glow, and the alloy placed on the floor goes liquid, though it doesn't seem to have gotten any hotter. You hear a hissing whisper exit Het Hagal, not a whisper of warning, but of anticipation. Then time begins to slow. You begin to be aware of every sensation on your body. Your breathing becomes manual. Your blinking becomes manual. Even your swallowing becomes manual. You develop awareness of practically every function of your body, of your heart pumping. Then, you watch as the platinum rod folds in on itself. Once, twice, thrice, and as it folds for the 4th attempt, the rod snaps in the middle. The snapped rod doesn't shoot debris up across the ritual grounds. Instead, where it snaps, the shrapnel of the break forms into something. The staff is sucked through an expanding rift. The rift gets larger, growing by the second. Within, you see a vaulted black stone chamber. There are no seams in the stone, and it seems as if every square inch of that black stone is covered in carved script. But at the center of the chamber are 2 things. A large statue of an elven warrior, a great sword and shield. The statue is nearly 9 feet high, composed of the same black stone as the rest of the chamber. On a pedestal behind the statue is a blade. But as you try to get a good look at it, everything on the other side of the portal begins to tremble. As if a great vortex of air were pulling on them, you watch as the statue hurtles towards the portal at a terrifying speed, alongside the blade resting on the pedestal. The statue collides with the portal and is deposited on the earth before you. The sword rests on the ground beside it. The sound of the statue colliding with the earth is a deafening thud and a loud crash. You hear shrieks of surprise from your servants upstairs, and the soldiers seem to react similarly. It makes your teeth shake. Then the statue's eyes begin to glow, and it animates. And we are here. All right. Well.
And that's the sword?
That is the sword.
Okay.
This is gonna be gruesome.
Well,
you know, I wasn't actually sure where you were gonna end up doing this ritual, and I think the basement is probably the funniest place to do it. Like, your servants are just gonna hear crashing and shrieking, and it fucking sounds like gurgling dead men. And they're like, what the fuck is our Lord doing down there?
well, Tullius, he cleared them.
Yeah. I think it's a funny mental. I mean, it's really fucking. It's kind of fucked, but it also is kind of funny. All right, you rolled in. Okay, this brave soldier acts first. The 2 legionnaires move forward as they were ordered. They shout and organize their men, and they swing against the Blackstone statue. All right, 2 attacks. Oh, they get 4 attacks because they're veterans. Why are we? All of those miss. They clung against the stone. Tullius is going to act. He is going to move forward, slip between the gap and them, move to here. And he's going to attack the statue with his Vorpal Dagger with sneak attack. 26 hits. I'm trying to remember what does a Vorpal Dagger do? Oh, +3. If he had a 20 on an attack roll, does not have advantage, so he does not hit a 20. Okay, he does 36 plus 12 damage. Is that 48? I think it's 48. Yeah, it's 48. Okay, he stabs his Vorpal dagger into the edge of the statue, and you watch as where the dagger passes, it cuts through like butter. A great 80-pound slab of the statue hits the earth as it gets sliced off by Tullius. And then he bonus action disengages. Good, Chad. All right, the Blackstone statue moves forward. It hoists the stone blade in its right hand and begins to swing. First one towards the veteran in front to its north. Sheesh! Second one to the veteran to its north. That hits. And where's my... Oh, here it is. Okay. And then he... Boom! 18 bludgeoning damage. He cracks into the edge of the veteran. The veteran is sort of pressed against the wall with his shield and grunts in pain. Zednius? This is a short basement, so keep in mind, you can shoot the creature. It just has at least half cover bonus. Probably should get more, but I'm only going to give it half. So that's +2 to AC.
What if I go up 10 feet?
The basement is not high enough for that. But if you go up 5 feet, then yeah, you'll be eye level with it.
So then it's not cover? Or...
Yeah, no cover.
Okay. I was just looking through my new spells, but I don't think...
There's not a lot of room in here.
Yeah. To do like a Sickening Radiance, there's not enough room.
Yeah.
So I will just blast twice.
Okay.
Not pushing.
Okay. The first one strikes the statue, seems to inflict a good amount of damage. Second one does as well. The chunks of the stone break off. There's no like intelligence to this creature. It's not particularly it's not resistant to anything. It just seems to be tanky. I mean, it's a huge fucking stone statue. It's gonna take forever to start breaking stuff off. It's just taken like 70 damage. It's not bloodied yet. All right, the first 3 legionnaires are going to stab their spears up to the statue. All of them just break or deflect against the stone. All right, the veterans are going to make their attacks. This one's going to move. No. They're both going to make their 4 attacks. Ooh, okay. This one managed to get his sword underneath, prying some of the, breaking off some of the stone, and this one slices in and cracks the stone, chipping it. Doesn't even have resistance to non-magical stuff. All right, then Tullius is going to act. He's going to move forward. That's a 20, 25. And he is going to stab the creature. Actually, you know what? No, he's committing. 25, 30, bonus action dash, 35, 40. He's going to Vorpal Dagger with advantage from behind.
Very nice.
18. So he inflicts 38 damage as he plunges his dagger into the back of the creature. And he watches a great rift, like a crack, appears in the center of the chest. Now the creature is bloodied, and as the center of the chest cracks away, you see a sort of central chest cavity reveal itself from Tullius cutting into him. And a single pulsating blue stone is present in the middle of the chest. It's still like 90% covered by rock, but you can see the glowing light from it. And the statue is going to act. Now that it is bloodied, it's going to take 4 attacks against the legionnaires in front of it. That is 2 hits. Boom. Boom, and it crushes 2 legionnaires. One of the stone blade punches through the chest and the armor of the legionnaire, killing him. The other one batters him across the head, and he falls to the ground from trauma to the brain. Zednius.
Yeah, all of my spells are AoE, so I have to just blast them twice.
Okay. Miss. The 8 hits, though, and you strike the statue. A little bit chips off the shoulder. The statue doesn't seem to be particularly focused on you at the moment. It's more focused on those swarms of shit. Swarms of little guys around it. These guys are going to move up. Brave heroes of the Empire. Spear, spear, spear. 1 hit! Huge! As he chips off a bit of stone. Alright, the veterans are going to act. They're going to unleash their longswords, cutting, slicing, dicing, trying to chip into the statue. Only 1 little scratch. And Tullius, on his turn, is going to shout out, "Go for the stone!" And he's going to focus on continuing to carve up the statue. He's going for the heart of it. Okay. Sorry, he's not going for the heart. He's going for the chest of the statue. That's 48 damage. Okay. So the creature is hit 1 hit point. It is destroyed. Like its chest has been rended open, and yet it continues to animate. That single little blue pulsating stone keeps the thing moving. Its shoulders have been carved into nothing. It's like, a master Michelangelo has gone to chiseling this statue apart, and yet, as long as that stone pulsates, the statue continues to fight. And so it is going to double attack. 4 attack the legionnaires in front of it.
Oh no!
That's one hit, one hit, one hit. With a single great blow, it just does one sort of wind up, and then it just tears through the chest of all 3 legionnaires. It is a single strike and just rends them to pieces. That's a pretty big L, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, they were all gonna die.
Jesus. I mean, yeah, but Jesus. Alright, Zednius.
It's better, going out defending the Empire.
What are you targeting?
The crest, the blue.
Okay, it's a -5 to hit it.
Okay.
So 22
Is that 17?
misses, and 18 also misses.
Wait, does Hagal give me advantage on the first one for a 22?
You would have to mention that before next turn. But yeah,
Okay.
next turn he can give you advantage. Alright, all these guys are dead, so the 2 veterans, they're going to make morale check. Well, no. One of them is going to go for the central heart, miss. The other one's just going to continue to chip away at the creature. And Tullius is going to go for the heart. He needs to get a 23 or higher. Nope. Oh, wait. Yeah, so I was going to say advantage, but he doesn't because all the guys are dead, so he's not flanking anymore. So he goes for the heart, and the statue just elbow butts him. And the statue's now going to unleash all 4 of its attacks against this southern veteran. Boom, 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 boom. 2 hit. No, 1 hit. Sheesh. That guy's still standing. The stone, your basement is beginning to tremble, by the way, with all these hits against its foundation. Okay. This stone blade, strikes the guy against the wall. It's not looking too good structurally. Zednius?
Hagal advantage to hit the stone.
Okay. 20 misses.
15 will miss.
18 will also miss. Oh, Bismillah. Alright, this veteran is going to... He's a brave soldier. He's a warrior of the Emperor. He's going to move between you and the statue, basically directly across from Tullius, and he'll start to wave his arms. Focus on me! He's going to take the dodge action, and this hero to the north is going to stab towards the heart again. I mean, there's almost no chance he hits, but yeah. Alright. Now Tullius, with advantage, plunges his blade. Miss.
He has advantage.
Sorry, he doesn't get a second attack. That was a misclick.
Oh, no.
He would have had advantage. He only gets 1 attack. He's a rogue. He's a soy rogue. Alright, the Blackstone statue is going to unleash all of his attacks against the guy directly in front of him dodging. That's a miss. 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 Hit. Oh, no, it's a disadvantage.
No,
miss.
10.
Holy. All of them miss.
What a
hit.
Dodge master.
That brave hero just blocks with his shield. That veteran deserves a promotion. But we all know what's really going to happen. Alright, what are you doing with that news?
Advantage. Blasting.
That hits. You strike the animating stone. The lightest touch cracks it. The crack starts in the center and then ripples along the entire statue, and great sections of it crash and strike the earth. The chamber goes quiet. Tullius takes a couple of deep breaths. You know, the first time I've had a fight in 4 years where it didn't end with a single strike. And yeah, Hetagal rolls over and the blade disappears. The soldiers don't seem to notice. The 2 of them are looking at their dead comrades, and Tullius says, "You did well, men. You did well. No one can ever impugn your honor. What you did there, protecting our Lord Judge, worthy of a medal. Let's go upstairs, celebrate your victory. Your comrades will see proper burials." And the 2 men sort of shallowly nod and says, "A drink in your honor. Lord Judge, I'm sure you'll join us in a moment."
Of course.
And the 3 of them climb up the stairs. And Hetagal rolls over and places the blade into your hand. I'm going to give you the handout and then describe what it looks like.
Okay.
At first glance, the blade appears almost like a small ribbon of ink. However, this is only a trick of perspective. The blade is wickedly thin and sharp to boot. It is made of a material that has the texture of stone, but is glossy black. The pommel and hilt are made of carved soapstone. The pommel has a large black opal mounted into it, and there are inscriptions on the soapstone of the pommel and hilt. The text is painfully small. A looking glass would be required to read them. The base property of the blade that you can instantly divine just by handling it is that it is a +1 magical rapier, and it provides a +1 to spell save DC. Now, there's a small chance that you are not proficient in rapiers, in which case it was a scimitar the whole time. I'm like 99% sure you're proficient in rapiers.
I'd have to look at the race. It would have come from the race.
I just remember at one point you had a sword at your
Is
side.
rapier a simple weapon? No, I only ever had
a
had a short sword.
Oh, that may have been the source of confusion. Then yes, it is that. I'm not trying to troll.
I'll just look through because I don't know what all of my weapon proficiencies are because I never knew it would come up.
Okay, yeah, it is coming up. Basically it's a one-handed sword. That is what matters. The exact designation of it will, depend. I'm not trying to troll face you. I just assumed you were proficient with rapiers. Short swords are also martial weapons, by the way.
What is it in Races of Valeros?
Races of Valeros, Galadrim.
Galadrim.
Because I know where Nesme is, and she's Druid.
Oh, we're the same race.
That's what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking you have it as well. I was like 99% sure.
Medium armor, shields, spears, halberds, and light crossbows. So
Sheesh.
No.
Okay, you know what? That's a big L. That means you're proficient with no swords. Which means you are not proficient with this weapon. So you need to train proficiency.
Simple weapons.
Simple weapons does not include any type of sword.
Really? Oh.
No. Yeah.
So what do I need to do?
You need to spend at least 20 weeks with an expert getting proficiency with this weapon.
Oh my god.
The wielder of the blade may use their spellcasting modifier for attacks and damage, and the blade provides a +1 to spell save DC. So those are the obvious properties.
If I'm not proficient, what happens? I just don't get the proficiency bonus?
If I'm not proficient, what happens? Yeah, right. But that is not the only change, because as you put the blade in your grasp, you feel something, you feel what I call sort of like moving and morphing on your shoulder. His shape seems to be almost like bubbling. And Hetal has a new stat block.
What?
Hetal has a new stat block. In between sessions, I'm going to transcribe it so it's actually like on the same sheet as his current one, but that's going to be his new stat block. It's CR2. Oh shit, you can't see it yet. There you go. It's CR2. It has a couple of new abilities. And for your purposes, he does a little bit more. He has an anti-magic zone now. And his invisibility is fixed so that it actually describes how it works. Before it was just like not correct. But yeah, okay. The main thing he gets is he's CR2, so he has a little bit more health, and he has an anti-magic zone. That he can use once per long rest.
What does anti-magic zone mean?
Feel free to read the ability. And as you finish doing it, he says, "My sword. You wield my sword."
I'll hold it.
It was once great. Smited evil. Kalmrasa. Blade of stars.
It'll be legendary again.
That deeply pleases him. But he is also the most tired you've ever seen him. He is like just plomped on your shoulder, and he says, I will return. And then he disappears.
Oh, he's gone.
Yep.
Okay.
He unexists himself. He needs time to recover.
Okay.
So,
I will return to Tullius now.
Yeah, you head upstairs. In one of the parlors, you see the unconscious bodies of two soldiers. Tullius glances over. The funeral pyre is being arranged now. All of these will be burned, and their families will be informed they died fighting the enemies of the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So, was it worth it? He gestures towards the sword in your hand.
I think so. We'll need a trainer, though.
Well,
they never told me to use it.
I can't stick around, but I can find a master swordsman.
That'd be most helpful.
He walks over, puts a hand on your shoulder, and he gives you a smile. You did well, boy. This is a good start. One day, people will have forgotten my name. But I'm sure they'll remember yours.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, give me a grandson. At least a wife. Come on. I need the political influence.
When are the mixers coming up? I don't know how to meet these people.
That's a fair point. I haven't exactly been in the dating pool myself. Next time you're back, probably, I don't know, 6 months from now, I should have some free time. The incidents in the south have just drawn a lot of effort from me. I'll start getting a relationship with the governor of Tarako. He's a good lad. I'm sure he could set you up with somebody.
All right.
Pat you on the shoulder. I'm gonna stick around for today, deal with these bodies, send out the letters, but then I'll be on my way.
It was good seeing you this long, Father.
It was good for me as well.
Might be the most time we've spent together.
In a very long time, most certainly. I hope you enjoy the new house. And he'll spend the rest of the day attending to business. There won't be much chance to talk to him. That evening, you guys will have dinner and be able to reminisce on old times.
Mm-hmm.
And the following day, Het Hagal will return. He seems more sturdy. Everything he does seems less pained. Simply existing seemed to be pain for him before, but now he waddles about with impunity, just walking from shoulder to shoulder.
He's more formed now?
Yes,
like a little guy?
Your mental image of him reveals stout legs. No longer does he have to wobble from side to side. The legs can actually hold his weight, and his little vestigial wings have begun to form a bit more. He's still inky black. There's no texture to any of him. But
yeah, and he still can't use the wings.
Correct, yeah. But he does help you learn the remaining properties of the stone. Because the inscription needs to be read for it to activate. The inscription, which Het Hagal will translate, reads, "You who wields this are my weapon. Foemen shall fear thee. Kinfolk shall worship thee. Stars blink out. Fires die. But you remain. Speak the words that all servants must. I live for the journey. Journey to Alvan Gardu."
Can you write that down for me?
The whole inscription?
Yes.
Okay. So Het Hagal will translate that for you.
Awesome. Did it seem like he's asking me to say that?
He just translated it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he looked at you expectantly.
Expectantly to what? I live for the journey to Alvan Gardu.
You speak it, and the black opal stone on the pommel of the blade flashes with light. You gain access to its other feature, which is that the stone has a starting amount of 4 charges. These charges can be expended by casting spells. Armor of Agathis costs 1 charge. Arms of Hadar costs 1 charge. Darkness costs 2. Hunger of Hadar costs 3. And Evard's Black Tentacle costs 4. At the end of a long rest, the soapstone regains all 4 charges. And it can only have 4 maximum. So, that is Kalimrasa, the Blazed Stars. Het Hagal is more sturdy. You gotta meet Tullius. You gotta reminisce on old times. You gotta plan for the future.
Gotta get me a wife.
Gotta get you
some
a wife.
heirs.
And some heirs. And I'm sure there's a lot else you want to do. Luckily, you have a couple weeks to think about that. December 2nd, I think, is our next main session.
I think that's the next one, yeah. Well, that's next week. That's next Friday.
Oh, God.
It's not a couple weeks.
Anyway, so that's our next main session. And then you guys are all going to have, I'm sure, tons of shit you wanted to do because you have months of downtime. I just wanted to limit these just to the prequels. So I have a couple questions about Zednius.
Yeah?
Out of character, I think it's very obvious that Tullius is kind of a bad human being. He's a very morally questionable person. I'm assuming a little bit that Zednius does not see any of that. Or if he does, he just doesn't care.
I mean, it's rubbed off on me, if anything.
Yeah. I sort of picture you and Severus as Not just like brothers in the sense of that, but also like your relationships with Tullius are very similar. I don't know if you watched the Severus prequel, but
I saw part of it. But
yeah, he was
I don't think I
basically
watched the
he's
whole thing.
deeply trauma bonded to Tullius, but Tullius doesn't treat him like a son, so it's kind of a one-sided relationship. Whereas you have more of a he seems to care for you. Everything he does seems to show that. But how does Zednius? I guess obviously
But
it's
he treated Severus poorly first. Like Severus has known him longer, right? Because he's older than me.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your question?
My question was, after the initial shock and awe of all this having taken place sort of wears off, how does he feel about a new home?
It's everything he could have asked for.
So
and more.
Good. Not.
Yes.
So the overwhelm like fades away pretty quickly and he just becomes very satisfied with his new position.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think it's all paying off. All the work, the trauma, the judging, the going into the deadwood, all of this.
Yeah.
Is what you get from it.
Large prequel session, immense trauma and abusive father. Severus prequel session, hand cut off and do mission for kind of like very sussy older man. Zednius session, get houses, get bitches, get new sword. All right, well, great. We have the Peach session on Friday. The Peach solo session, that's fucking dark. And then Max misses on Sunday. Then we have the main session next Friday. This was fun. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See ya.